I just
Uh,
press go live.
I'm about to go
Sure.
live.
Oh, there you go.
All right.
We're all
I'm
live.
I'm gonna join you in a bit, but do your thing, okay?
All right. Well, now I regret pressing go live, but oh well, too late. Oh well, Walky Talky. Well, so much for waiting for Kamui, and we are officially indeed live. Well, Immortal, what have you thought about stuff?
So far, I've been thinking about how good the juicy crab I was at, how good the food was over there.
The Juicy
But
Crab? Is that the name of a restaurant?
yeah,
Interesting. There might be one near me. Maybe. Well, do they
um,
serve juicy crabs?
well, yeah,
Is that what you had?
yeah.
Oh. Well, how was it? You know, besides
It
juicy.
was. Um, it tasted really good. The broth was really. The broth actually was mild, but it tasted. But Asian seasoning, all the other good stuff that they added into it, it was really good.
And how would you describe the texture?
It is. It's how should I say? Not really. Well, the texture of the broth, man, I would say it's
Is it a
dang, I don't know
decadent,
how to.
elegant cuisine?
Well, I don't think it was like a
Some
food per
fine
se.
dining? Some
Oh man, I
pinky
can't really.
raising?
It was pretty good.
Sounds juicy.
I can't really describe it to you until you go and check it out yourself. But well, not really. I can't really tell you how good it could be. You like depending on how what you like, whether if you like mild, spicy, or anything of that sort.
Oh my goodness! I mean, you're shucking corn over how good it is over there. It's like
It is.
you're shucking corn
But
over it.
anyways, aside
Well,
from juicy,
juicy crabs aside, I think we have a juicy Boruto 2 Blue Vortex chapter to discuss.
right? Let's talk about the cliffhanger at the end of the chapter. So I
Where would
have
you
mixed
like to
feelings about
start?
this,
Yeah.
mainly because of the fact that this plan kind of hinges on Sarda being the one to, I would say, be the one to destroy the rest of the Malushi clones. And granted, Shikamaru didn't really know that Sarda was, going through any effects of her Mangekyo because their communications was off. And so this kind of, you know, I guess when Shikamaru heard about her new ability, he thought, okay, let's see if we can get her to round out the rest of the Mamushi clones. And once she tried, then she ended up going unconscious because that was her second usage of the Mangekyo. She was already about to go blind when she was looking at Delta, and when she used it for the second time, she went unconscious. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is one thing that I kind of thought, I mean, granted, okay, so I don't know. What do you think
Well,
of the plan?
I think, well, the plan aside, because we can get to that in a minute, because I think the plan is very, very incredibly ridiculous how low IQ the plan is. You know, Mamushi had 1,000 clones, can come up with a better plan than that, but ignoring that. When it comes to Sarada's Mangekyo specifically, and the cliffhanger at the end of chapter 32 here with the Tubu Vortex, I think there's a lot of different ways they can go about finding a solution to what they need to do with Sarada's Mangekyo. Obviously, eventually she's going to need to get an eye replacement, but do you think we're at that point now? Do you think the eye is used up? Is it blind? Is it exploded? Like, what do you think? What's happened with the eye? Will she be able to use it again in the future?
Well, if we go off if we go off any lore from the Mangekyo, I don't know. I think from what I may understand, I don't think she'll be able to use the Mangekyo in her current state right now, unless she finds some way to, I would say, alleviate the effects, or maybe, you know, find some way to heal the damage within the eye.
Yeah.
I don't see her using the Mangekyo, at least for a little bit.
Well, we do know last chapter she was starting to go blind, but this chapter she seemed more or less fine. So it's going to be the like very exact same thing as what happened to Sasuke. You know, like fighting Killer B. After that, he was starting to go a little bit blind based on he like knocked over a cup of water. But then 5 Kage Summit, he was fine again afterwards. I guess once he like recovered his chakra or whatever. That's not to say he was at like 100%. I still think it probably had an effect on him, but it wasn't like noticeable. So I think the same could have happened to Sarada, to where last chapter she used her Mangekyo, but then this chapter she was more or less fine again. But you know, she's still suffering from like that like first usage effect or whatever. Um, but that's to say that obviously she passed out at the end of this chapter and it's looking really bad. She's bleeding all over the place. But that's not to say I don't think she's going to be able to use it right as soon as she wakes up. But give her like a time skip of like a day or whatever, whenever the Hidari invasion happens, she might be able to just use it again just fine again by that time.
Yeah. I would say, you know, now for right now, she could recover her chakra and, get back into the battlefield, but she won't be as, at full power. Not like she was during the Ryu, during the I would say the Tsunagaku arc, where they were trying to get Shinki and Moege's Thorn Soul back to their trees. But one thing I can say is that if she goes to Sakura, there might be something she could teach her, but I don't know if Ikimoto is gonna do that. Maybe that could be sometime soon along the line, but who knows?
That is a potential option, is that, Sakura could just, in general, use her green healing magic hand aura thing to just heal Sarada's eye. I don't know if that's even like a possibility, but at the very least, it would heal the strain and maybe even give her some rejuvenated chakra, but I don't think it's going to like heal the blindness any. But again, that's not something that she was suffering from in this latest chapter. It was the strain. In fact, I just posted a scan in the group chat. If you look at it, at the drawbacks at the very bottom, this ability consumes a tremendous amount of chakra. Like other Mangekyo Sharingan techniques, overuse leads to gradual deterioration of vision, eventually resulting in blindness. I think based on this, I think this is saying there's nothing special or different about Ohirame. It's gonna all Mangekyo abilities seemingly make the eye a similar amount of blind. It's just about how much overuse you use them and to what extent you like strain them, and that could obviously result in the bleeding of the eye. But it doesn't seem like Sarada from this chapter, at the very least, was resulting in blindness per se, unless you do think that the eye exploded at the end, in which case she doesn't have an eye anymore and she needs an eye transplant stat. I just think that would be hilarious. But what do you think about that? Do you think that this ability takes more from her than other Mangekyo abilities, or do you think it's similar to other Mangekyo abilities based on this?
Well, let me think. So I'm trying to think of examples. So maybe Itachi might be a good one. Let's see. I don't know, I guess not really Itachi, but okay. So I'm guessing that maybe this ability does take a tremendous amount of chakra from her because of maybe the usage of the fact that she's trying to suck in all of her enemies into her black gravity spheres, and whatever ability she has next will also definitely take a tremendous amount of chakra from her, because that also results in her, being unconscious and bleeding from her eye. And so I guess maybe that could I I guess maybe this ability does take a lot more out of her than previous Mangekyos.
I think if there's any difference between this Mangekyo and the others, it would be Sarada herself. I would just say, under the hypothetical that Sarada has a smaller chakra reserves because she's younger than a lot of the other Uchiha who had their Mangekyo, it's possible that just using the Mangekyo in and of itself would just by default automatically put more strain onto Sarada because her body isn't as capable or used to it as the others potentially would have been. Just a possibility.
Yeah. I feel like one thing they could do is, I've said this before, I'm gonna say it again. They could have Sarda learn the Byakugo seal, but I don't think that's gonna be the case. Maybe
Yeah.
there could be a chance that she might end up unlocking a second eye ability that allows her to simultaneously heal herself while using her other Mangekyo abilities, or maybe she could end up having a Genjutsu. Who knows?
She has the chakra control of her mother, which is very interesting already. We do
Yeah.
know, I think it was like chapter 31 or whatever of Naruto Next Generations. I don't know what chapter it was. When they were talking about Tsunade's Byakugo seal being similar to the Karma seal. So they're already setting that up, and Sarada wants to become stronger so she can fight Otsutsuki level threats. Her friends have Karma seals, etc., etc. I feel like whatever Byakugo Karma seal tie-in they might come back to, might not. If they come back to it, I think that Sarda would be one of the ways they could come back to it to help solve the Mangekyo blindness. That's just my thoughts.
I think no, I don't think they're gonna give her Hashirama cells. But
That's another possibility.
But-
I mean, it worked for Obito, seemingly.
yeah. Because when we saw Obito with because the Hashirama cells helped out Obito immensely, especially when he had a Rinnegan. I guess what the cells does do is it helps alleviate the effects and allows him to, be able to spam his abilities a lot more than he normally would by himself. But I mean, that's just me.
Well,
what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that there's a couple Zetsu still around, so you could, at the very least, just have something happen there, which would be kind of crazy. That might be my personal favorite choice. Other possibilities would include the possibility that maybe she goes to one of the Shin clones and takes their eyes, as ridiculous and unrealistic as that would be, considering they're just not in the story at all. But it's possible. Yeah, but I don't think Sarda would just do that as part of the problem. Another similarly not likely outcome is if she needs another set of eyes, Sasuke has an eye she could use as a replacement for the one she just blew out. So she could just steal Sasuke's only eye, but I don't think she would do that either.
So, oh shoot, I didn't notice that. Sorry about that. Okay, so what do you think is the likeliest possibility that they're probably going to go in order to help Sarda alleviate the effects of the Mangekyo, or do you think that they're just going to have her, constantly replenish chakra, go into battle and potentially deal with the same effects all over again?
We've gone over some of the less likely outcomes. I think the two most likely outcomes, outside of the first one that I said, where she's just gonna be fine after rest and recovery, which is ridiculous, but ignoring that. I think the two that are most likely would be Sumire giving Sarada some kind of scientific ninja tech to augment her eye or something or the other there. They have that friendship, they have the scientific ninja tech theme, they have the Amado connection. It's a way to scale up. It's just one possibility that they definitely could do. Another one would be Orochimaru if she and Mitsuki once together, that could be cool. But ignoring Orochimaru for now. The one that I like the least, that I hope doesn't happen, but that's exactly why I can totally see Ikimoto doing this one in particular, because it's the one I want to happen the least, happens to be a pretty reoccurring pattern I've noticed. So the solution that Sarada's gonna find to not having to use her Ohirume is gonna be to use her other eyes ability. And that's just what she's gonna do for the next, 10 chapters.
Yeah, she's gonna start spamming whatever her ability is going to be. So we don't know if Ikimino plans on giving her a genjutsu based off of lore and mythology, or whether or not if that he's going to give her some sort of healing ability for her second eye. Whether or not if it could be I heard theories that
I doubt that.
There are some theories going around. I guess maybe about how her second ability could be like some sort of Amaterasu flame that heals people instead of destroying.
That's interesting. I mean, it awakened because of Omnipotence during Omnipotence, whatever you want to say. It'd be cool if it was an ability to just distort reality or warp reality or whatever. One's gravity manipulation, the other can be, I don't know, somehow, or the other reality manipulation, some kind of other way. Could be cool.
Yeah.
Maybe time dilation, even. That kind of works with the whole idea. Space time, there you go.
Oh, shoot. You just reminded me of Boruto's other potential secret abilities, but we'll get into that after that. Yeah, I can definitely see the most likeliest route is she might end up getting a second ability, or she might end up going to Sumire or Amado to get a scientific ninja tool augmentation to her eye, which will allow her to be able to, use Ohirume a lot more than she normally could, just by using the Mangekyo herself. But who knows? I'm not saying that she isn't using the Mangekyo, but I'm talking about the strain it puts onto her body and the amount of chakra it takes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Sarda's going to be just fine from this moment. I don't think anyone thinks otherwise. We already have the vision to where she's going to face off against Hidari or whatever. She's probably going to need her Mangekyo to do that, and so that's the way to get to there. Actually, that'd be an interesting way to get to that fight, is if she can't use Ohirume in that fight to just negative insta one-shot GG Hidari, so she actually has to fight him.
Yeah.
I'd prefer that.
Okay. So there are ways I feel like that, they could stop Sarada from using Ohirume. One way is pretty much by killing Sarada. Pretty much. It's I would say that they have to do something where they're able to attack her from a blind spot. Or maybe there could be something that some form of resistance towards gravity manipulation. Like, for example, take Obito, for example. Obito can use, I would say, Kamui to basically go into another dimension. And it's kind of crazy because I really don't think that he'll be sucked up into the gravity spheres if he used Kamui. Because he can also use Kamui to make his body intangible.
Yeah.
I think another good example is when Jibidara pretty much used his limbo clones. Now, I hate this so much, but a lot of people seem to think that Sarada has 6 pass chakra and she would be able to sense the limbo clones. I swore I saw people say that.
They're just saying that because Sasuke had 6 paths chakra when she was born, but I don't think that's the case,
and
for obvious reasons.
And it's kind of crazy because, you would need to have 6 pass, not just 6 pass chakra, but 6 pass senjutsu, I would say, to be able to sense and a Rinnegan.
Yeah.
And if she doesn't have a Rinnegan, she can't be able to see those limbo clones. So it really doesn't matter if she uses Ohirume, because those limbo clones exist on another plane of reality altogether. So if she can't sense the limbo clones, then the limbo clones can easily deploy their attacks on her without even knowing. And let's just say if Madara decided that he wanted to go in for the kill, he could absolutely do that. We're talking Jibidara here. Now, like I said, there are plenty of ways they could kill Sarda if OG characters were alive. But here, I would say what other ways you could do this?
Do you want to list some ways, or do you want me to start?
I'm trying to think of. I'm trying to think. Maybe Damon could be a good one,
Okay,
What's
but
okay.
the
that depends.
sorry. Hello. Hi. What's the
Hey,
topic of discussion?
oh, we were just talking about Sarda, the cliffhanger, and we were going into, how could she, recover from all this? What could she learn afterwards if if they even succeed towards the in the next few chapters, if we're heading towards that, worst case scenario future. And we were also talking about, ways that, they could, if Sarda activates Ohirume, there could be ways that they could take her down, but there's got to be, specific, I would say, not really conditions, but something that could be able to help them out when it comes to her gravity spheres and the fact that she can selectively choose which gravity she wants to apply to, et cetera, et cetera.
What is this scan? Is this like something new?
No, this
Oh,
is months ago from the data book or whatever database, whatever it is.
yeah,
I
yeah,
guess
it
just
talks
so
about,
Mello
yeah.
can jump into the
It's new to me.
conversation. Mello, we saw at the end of this latest chapter of Boruto TBV Vortex, chapter 32, Sarada was trying to use her Ohirume to get rid of all of the Mamushi clones, and it failed. It didn't work, and Sarada started bleeding from the eye. She fell down. So, what do you think is going to be the most likely way and the least likely way going forward that Sarada's going to have to get around whatever happened here at the end of this chapter?
I would say the most likely way would be the one that's been established already, which would be trying to get her some form of EMS through some means of medical operation. There there exists currently in the lore a plethora of ways to do this. You can obviously go the Orochimaru Kadin route to the umbilical cord. They have her genetics. Maybe they can do something with that. Sasuke was working with Orochimaru for years. Maybe he still has, not even really a maybe. We do know when he was bringing back the Kage, he stated that he just likes to store the DNA of legendary ninja. So I think it's more than reasonable to make an assumption that he would have Sasuke's genetics to where he can use some kind of cloning process and duplicate his eyes, give them to her, so on and so forth. Something akin to that. Maybe even the eyes that he had originally still exist in some form or fashion somewhere that he swapped out for Itachi's. There is obviously scientific ninja tech route that you could take. This is another path as well, but I think Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan is the most likely route. The means in which you get there is where I think they're going to innovate a bit. And if I have to say the least likely one, I think that's what you asked.
Yeah, that you could
I
see
would
like Ikimoto
say,
actually reasonably writing in at the very least, because
oh,
otherwise that could just spiral into insanity. But
yeah, yeah. I would say the least likely option would be something like them elevating her to some form of god status by giving her like a Shinjutsu or something. Like
mm,
I've theorized like the Shinjutsu Sharingan. I actually don't think they're going to do that, but I think they should, but I don't think it's going to happen. In fact, I think it's not going to happen because I think it's the thing they should do. So they're going to do the opposite. So
no, no, yeah, no, I've noticed that pattern too. Don't worry. I love
what
it.
about you guys? What did you guys come up with?
Well, what I was just saying was the one that I'm afraid they're going to do is Sarda has two Mangekyo. I'm afraid that Sarda's solution going forward is to just not use her eye with Ohirume and just to use only her other eye for the next like 10 chapters until she needs a different actual solution for the first time now. That'd be the most
I
annoying solution to me.
I that would be interesting. And I wouldn't put it past Ikimoto at this point. A little bit of shade there. I admit, I admit. But I or perhaps they could try to train up her stamina. That could also be another path that they could take. Maybe they can do something akin to that. I think I've heard mentions of Himawari's healing powers. that could maybe play some kind of role. But I know you. I think I heard you guys talking about the six paths chakra, which is interesting. I don't think that's going to happen. It
Yeah.
should be something that is in play given the materials lore, but it's one of those things where it's just not. It has never been mentioned, so it's probably. I mean,
Yeah.
uh, is the Jogan canon? Like this is still a question being asked for God's sake. So,
If
but
we're not gonna get that, we're not gonna get Sarada's six paths power.
I haven't even gotten a code backstory. Like, where am I going to get the six paths power? It's like,
Hmm.
Yeah. See, my thing is, let's just assume for a second Sarada definitely has a second Mangekyo ability, which isn't confirmed. Shisui didn't have one. Fugaku didn't have any, as far as we were aware. Same with Madara. You know, the main villain of the entire franchise didn't even have one. But ignoring that, as far as we're aware, ignoring that. Some people just don't have two. Some people just have one, and some might just have zero. We don't know if Sarada does have two. It irks me. It irks me when people just talk about it as if she definitely does, and just breezing past the idea, and just to get to that conversation. So, assuming she has two, I'll start off like that. Assuming she has two, I think her second ability should just be blatantly inferior to her Ohirame, because every other Mangekyo user that has two uses the two pretty much interchangeably. They will go back and forth using it in whatever scenario is best for that time, but they use them both frequently to like the same degree. Sarada has not only used Ohirame exclusively, which implies that it's stronger, but to me, that also implies her second ability is going to be hyper niche. It's not versatile at all. It's going to be extremely useful, maybe, in like one or two scenarios that she's never going to find herself in, except for the one time she happens to find herself in it. Because otherwise, why would she not use it, especially if the Mangekyo ability awakens instinctively? She should know how to use both from the get-go. She hasn't even mentioned the second ability. So thoughts on that?
sorry, Draco just put it in my chat. Just left a comment. We're gonna be in our 40s and 30s, and by the time this manga finishes, and then he deleted it for some reason. But sorry. I yes, but also I have so many problems with this artist, and I don't want to be like negative about it, but um, yeah, I somebody else go. I just don't want to be negative about it. I'm really trying to like duck the negative allegations. I care, but so I want to be honest, but I don't know. I'm not trying to be pessimistic
Well,
about the
I guess
series. I
negativity.
like the art. I like the art in this chapter. I thought the choreography was pretty cool. I thought it flowed well, minus the speed lines. But
It was about the same as
not
average,
everything's
but
perfect.
ignoring that.
Yeah.
Okay. Even though you just said no negativity, so getting into the negative of this chapter, for me, the biggest thing, this was a 5 out of 10 chapter, and that's not a good thing. That's exclusively a bad thing, because this is the chapter that should have hit. This should have been the banger 10 out of 10 chapter. This didn't. It needed to be above a 5 out of 10. So if it's an average chapter, that's actually a bad thing, because this isn't supposed to be an average chapter, in my opinion.
But I don't think it's necessarily an average chapter for everybody. I think it hits for some people 100%. Um, and I can understand why. Like I even explained during my stream that I liked the spectacle of it. It's like a Michael Bay movie, a Transformers movie. The big explosions. It's the underneath stuff that's if you look a little deeper, that's when you start to have some problems. But
Yeah.
yeah, like there's some crazy cool camera angles with Sarada doing her like JoJo Zawaddo pose as she like aura farms her way levitating upwards. Like that's all fire. Like the scenes with Damon kicking their heads off all at once, like just speed blitzing them, like how fluent and dynamic the fight choreography was with him. That was all cool. But yeah, just throw some positives out there for a little bit, anyways.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was good. I mean, this chapter was fine for sure. My thing is that it just wasn't anything overly special, which is what I was really expecting and hoping for with Damon. It didn't elevate beyond to be the reason that we are here to watch anime and manga in the first place. It doesn't give me those goosebump feelings like this chapter in particular should have done. The other chapters didn't need to do it. This one in particular needed to execute. It's the comparison I made when I was talking to Keto in the last stream. Imagine you get Madara showing up versus the Alliance in the Fourth War. And instead of doing his Susanoo, dropping the 2 meteors, power of a god, all that, the girl praying at the beginning of the fight, and then Madara, as he's like slowly walking, and he starts running faster. He activates his Rinnegan. Oh my god, what does he have? Imagine they don't do any of that. Madara, he doesn't do his majestic destroyer flame. Madara, he just like jumps down there. He just like does taijutsu versus like 5 people, and then he just jumps away and just goes to Obito, and that's it. Like, yeah, you did what you were supposed to do. You did exactly what I expected you to do, and nothing beyond that. You did the bare minimum. Congrats.
Man. Okay.
all right. We'll wait for the negativity.
I'll say this.
Yeah.
It's fine. I'm not ducking the negativity. I just
for now
didn't necessarily want to start with that, but it's cool. It's cool. Okay.
Well, you're making me just want to keep talking about it. So, I feel like what this chapter did is similar to what other very good chapters have going into it. It's building a platform so that the peak moments really stand up above the rest. Like Boruto, he's hyping up Damon. You're going into it like the oh shoot, oh my god. Okay. So it's building that platform. But the only thing that Ikimoto's doing is just standing on top of the platform. He's not jumping off of the platform, like a springboard to go even higher beyond. He built the platform, and then he's just getting up on top of it, and then he's just being there. He's not doing anything special above that, because we're hyped going into it. It's led up to this, the whole arc, the whole fight, and we got here, and it's exactly what we expected. But it was hyped up to be more, in my opinion, based on everything that Boruto said about Damon, based on the cover chapter photo thing, explaining Damon to be a demon 20 different times. Damon's out here smirking and laughing and all that. And yeah, he's kicking like 3 Mamushi heads off at once, with 0 difficulty. He's, for whatever ridiculous reason, he's jumping away from Ada to go fight Mamushis. And then when Mamushis try and get to Ada, he's faster than the Mamushis to Speed Blitz to get to Ada. That was the coolest part for me. Or even, Mello, have you seen One Punch Man Season 3?
No.
Okay. So there was one moment, ignoring One Punch Man, there was one moment in the Damon Mamushi fight where Mamushi was screaming like, "You brat," and you get to see the speed at which Damon's moving, with Mamushi saying like "brah," and then Damon moves, and then Mamushi finishes the word with like the T, like "brah," and then Damon, and then it's ridiculous, but I love that part as well. Outside of that, that's really all I got for the positives, quote unquote.
Yeah, I think the thing for me that kind of has some concerning elements incorporated. That is an interesting. Okay. Let me see. All right, relax. The problem that I had with this particular scene with Damon was, number one, I thought that they kind of cut him off at the knees before he even had an opportunity to get up and start walking, let alone like run, let alone fly. And they did that by obviously having, I would just say, lesser characters have what I would consider to be extraordinary feats against Mamushi, who I would consider to be a top tier combatant within this entire like series, including like the Naruto and Naruto Shippuden. Like this, like in chapter 4, he was fighting on par, if not outpacing Boruto post time skip. So I think there's a certain understanding about where that character ought to be. And so when you have like a Chocho or a Chikadai or
Yeah.
that situation, then we get to Damon where he should be having his big showcase for the post time skip landscape. And it just feels like, yeah, like they're saying, oh, whoa, this guy's so like, oh man, this is amazing. He's taking out all of them at once. Their numbers are dwindling. But like that doesn't really hit that hard when you have a Chocho and a Shikadai who are dwindling those numbers as well. Maybe not at the same pace, but just we're doing it in general. So like I again from a visual standpoint, I can see that just in animation form how they could just go crazy with a scene like this.
For sure.
100%. But
Mm-hmm.
they didn't really take it to its maximum level in the manga material. And I think they didn't do that because they couldn't. And it's not from lack of trying. Obviously, with the dialogue is supposed to imply that Boruto hyping up Damon is supposed to get you revved up, right? But they just could never do it because it's not just what you see and what you understand, it's what you feel. And you can't feel it if there's not any depth there, right? The feeling would have came if it took everything for Ina Shikacho minus the Ina, if it took everything for them to take out one, maybe two, maybe Himawari could fight two on her own, but three is just too much. And we have like a dedicated chapter with just them using their strategic prowess and whatever they've been working on in the little days that they had to prepare and they actually execute a strategy to get like 3 or 4 or 5 of them dead. But then they just get overwhelmed with numbers, and then like the Mamushi just like they run up because they're not really concerned. And we realize like, oh man, like this is a problem. Or something like that. So then when they bear witness to what Damon's doing, they're like, man, they're contrasting it. They're like, man, this dude was able to do all of this quickly. Man, compared to him, we're nothing. And then that's where the genuine whoa comes in. Like, why is Chocho saying whoa when she can speed blitz and knock off their head in one shot? I mean, I understand like the spectacle of it and the speed at which it happened. But like if she just goes one by one and just does it, Hulk smash, it still gets done nevertheless. So like I think that gets undercut when you don't have, you know, Damon where he should be, which is the showcase moment. And yeah, like if you don't build up Mamushi up until this point, if he's not getting like dealt with and handled, then he obviously is more intimidating here with Damon. And then when he gets dominated, then we feel it, not just understand it from your dialogue or what we're supposed to feel, or any of that, or just get hyped up from what you show us, but we genuinely feel the emotion there. And I think that was missing. And then the last thing for me would be with Damon. Um, I just don't understand why Sarda had to be the one to finish the play.
Yeah.
It could have been Damon that did it. He just could have continued doing what he did instead of just voguing with his sister just to get off a cool little one-liner, imbeciles, right? And then like the music slows down with a little guitar riff so he can pull that one off. Like I don't understand. Like they're more interested in voguing and looking good. Everybody seems to be that in this show apparently. Sarda is a ore farmer like I've never seen before. Like this is Piccolo levels of ore farming. I'm here for it. That's one of the reasons why Piccolo's my favorite character in Dragon Ball Z. But yeah, it's that. Why didn't Damon finish the play? That's super interesting to me. But aside from that, I think with Sarda, and I'll stop yapping. I think with Sarda, I do from a Sarda fan perspective, I do think it's interesting that she was supposed to be the play finisher, not Kawaki, not Boruto, and I think that speaks volumes about where she scales power wise, comparative, rather relative to those people I just mentioned. Yeah, maybe even Damon himself. I'm just saying. Stamina seems to be an issue, obviously, but
Well,
yeah.
that last part's an interesting perspective. But no, I agree with everything that you said. It feels like for both of us, this chapter just sort of rang hollow. It was cool from a superficial level. Obviously, there was like zero depth to any sort of like story beats or anything. There's like zero progression from the story perspective. It's a battle shonen. Not every single chapter needs to progress the story, the themes necessarily. You can just progress the plot, and that's fine. It's basically a catch up in terms of the plot. So I think it's fine with doing that. But we obviously have some issues with the power scaling. Immortal, I'm curious, did you have any of these similar issues as to what me and Mello were having?
I think he's AFK for now.
Ah, he said BRB. All right. Well, perfect timing to have me not ask him then. Wow, perfect timing. Like, couldn't have been timed better. All right. Well, I guess I'm gonna keep going then. So I don't know if you noticed in this chapter, Mello, but the power scaling issues actually continue with Ino Shikacho. So it's actually depending on your perspective. So at the beginning of the chapter, Boruto tells Mamushi where Ada is. He's gonna fly him over, and he does that. Boruto flies to Ada. Mamushi follows him. All the Mamushis go over there. So, do you think Boruto went straight there? Or do you think he just like flew around and loop-de-loops around the village, zigzagging on his way there, stalling for time, whatever he wants to do, flying extra slow? Do you think he's doing that, or do you think he's just making a beeline straight to Ada?
Well, I definitely don't think that he's going as fast as he could, given the speed at which he saved his sister from Jura that one time.
Sure.
So that's definitely true that he's not going as fast as he could. That would imply to me that he's going slower for a reason. There's a utility to it. I'm not entirely sure what that would be. If the plan is to like funnel them towards Damon and then have him take care of them, I don't think Damon needed to like stretch and he needed warm up time, so that was a little weird.
Yeah.
But
Well, so that's my thing. We see, as Mamushi and Boruto are flying above the village in a straight line towards Ada, we see Shikadai and Chocho running on the ground next to them. And you'll never guess who gets to Ada's destination first.
ah,
So Shikadai and Chocho speed blitzed Mamushi again.
Nah, bro, there has to be some context to that. I need to see like the sequential order of things.
That's so bad. Because through the very nature of them flying, that implies that their flight speed should be faster than their running speed, in my opinion. And Shikadai and Chocho can't fly, and they're still moving faster than Boruto and Mamushi. That's just awful. Awful.
Okay, I see. Okay, I see them running. And they have the audacity to have speed lines for Boruto as he flies.
That's gross.
I guess we call them directional lines. Okay. By the way, this is kind of off topic, but on topic as well, because I'm working on this project, my own story, and there's like a superhero character in the story. I wanted to understand like the physics and the purpose of having capes within comics. And so, and this kind of reminded me when I'm watching Boruto fly away in his like Neo from the Matrix vibes with his like little cloak. For characters that fly, like cloaks or capes, there's like an actual utility. It gives them like direction, with the fabric movement. And it's an obvious kind of little tidbit there, but I thought it was pretty interesting. I never really took it into consideration. So like when I see Boruto like flying, I'm like, oh yeah, he is like a Superman like character. He can fly. So they gave him like the cloak to make like basically they're doing the Superman thing for a Japanese character, which I think is super cool. But yeah, just a little bit of an aside there.
Yeah.
So they arrive. Okay, I didn't even realize they were flying this long.
Right, it's crazy. Yeah, so is that what we think is happening? Is Boruto just flying around the village waiting for everyone to get in position? If so, that's extremely strange that Ikimoto kept that all off screen. The only thing we have on screen is Boruto telling Mamushi, as shown through Shikamaru's plan, just to show him where Ada's at. That's the plan. That's the only thing we have to go based off of.
I would
I
have
don't
to
know.
just read over it one more time to see if Shikamaru says anything prior to this. Um, but yeah, I'll have to just take your word for it for now.
Yeah, all right.
Because like to me, it looks like they kind of get to like the little villa at the same time ish. Um, if that's what you're talking about, like, like that one panel where they're like, "We're almost there." Where I think that Shigadaya
Yeah,
says that. I think it's page 10. Is that what you're saying? They got there first,
yeah. Looks like they
but
got
they
there
said
first
that
to me.
we're almost there though, so they
Well, they can see
literally
it like
didn't get
from
there
the
first.
distance. They're there.
Okay.
It's not like
Well,
they go in the house anyways. They're still outside fighting on the front lawn or whatever, regardless. So they're there.
okay. And then also, I feel like I feel like he's saying this to Shikamaru. Like I feel like they're speaking telepathically here, maybe because like because Shikamaru's talking, and then Kawaki says something in response to that, and then like Shikamaru's not like there, so obviously they're talking telepathically. So then I think that's what Shikadai is doing. So I would say he's doing that for a reason. They're factored into whatever plan that Shikamaru has. So that would imply like they need to get there. Like so they need to be in a specific place. They're letting them know, hey, we're almost there, and they're saying that for a reason because they need to be in that place. And I think that's probably why Boruto is going slower, is because they need to position everybody and they need time to set things up. Even if you like look at the dialogue, Shikamaru is like asking probing questions about Sarada's ability, which I think he should have probably did this prior, but okay.
Yeah.
But that's an aside. So yeah, I think he's flying slower on purpose, obviously, because I've seen him fly faster. And then also, yeah, I think and then if you also take a look at like what he's doing, where he's like telling him about Damon specifically, that being Boruto, pages 6 through 7. I think he wanted to take his time so that he could build up like um mess him up psychologically. Like this is Boruto's attempt at like a psychological attack to like curate where he's going to target his fury. And then you know this because like when he's like, oh yeah, I know about his abilities, Boruto like starts thinking telepathically to Shikamaru, hey, he knows about this ability, bro. Like, do we have a plan for this? So like obviously Boruto is working right now. Like he's not. Yeah, like I think all of this is deliberate, is what I'm saying. Like this, yeah, he's flying slower to let everybody have time to get in position. He's also flying slower, to give Shikamaru time to set things up. He's also flying slower to like try to psychologically influence Mamushi by giving him information about Damon, and then as a result tries to curate where Mamushi targets his fury or whatever. Um, and yeah, I think it's all on purpose. Yeah, I think it makes sense to a degree. Yeah.
All right. Do you think Boruto telling the free advice to Mamushi that it was saying, do you think that was just Boruto independently acting on his own? Did Shikamaru tell him that? Or was this a Koji plan, possible future shenanigans? What was happening there?
I'll never be able to tell you definitively what that is, and I suspect that's why you brought it up, but I'm not going to get ahead of myself. Um, but I think you can maybe make some assumptions based upon like the scene. And like I said, I think like he's flying slow on purpose to do this. And the fact that he had that reaction when he learned that Mamushi knew about it, and then he immediately went to Shikamaru and told him, like, yo, bro, like he totally knows about Damon's ability. Um so I feel like this would imply that this was something that he was told to do by Shikamaru, and not something that he just decided to do on his own. And then and also it kind of feels like I feel so strongly about that. I wouldn't even try to use this as some like statement to scale Boruto under Damon. Like, oh man, even Boruto thinks he's weaker than Damon. I don't even think Boruto thinks that necessarily. I think he was just trying to work within the established plan by Shikamaru to psychologically assault Mamushi with the information. I don't think Boruto necessarily believes that he's inferior to Damon. Now maybe he does. There's also a part of me that's like, well, he never shows any disrespect towards Damon. He only like hypes up Damon. But this is post time skip Boruto. He has a different kind of aura about him, and this felt a little off. But yeah, just some thoughts.
Interesting. I think that both can be true at the same time. I think he could be trying to do some psychological warfare, and he can also genuinely mean everything he said. I think that'd probably be the best, if anything.
Yeah, it's definitely possible for sure.
Yeah. Assuming that Boruto's just telling the genuine truth, I'd argue that puts Damon above Jura just based on that alone. What he's saying about him, I think absolutely it should.
Me personally, I never had a reason to put Jura over Damon in the first place.
Yeah.
The only character I genuinely think probably you can definitively put over Damon is Shibai, if you even think the character is real, and that's probably it.
Well, I've argued the opposite of that in the past, but we don't need to go down that route right now. No, but we have a couple chapters ago, Kawaki was saying that Jura is ahead of Kawaki still, but Jura's within reach. He can see how far ahead Jura is. Boruto saying, bro, Damon, he has limitless power. I can't even imagine his level of power. So I think based on that alone, like, assuming Boruto and Kawaki are at all relative, unless we're saying that Kawaki randomly has a bigger imagination than Boruto or something, I don't think that's happening, though. I think it's that alone would just put Damon superior, which is crazy.
Why? What do you think makes Damon so superior? I'm just curious. Like, what is it?
It's a good question. Obviously, aside from his speed and strength, and then his reflectability, I think it's his confidence to be able to use all of his abilities, such as his sensory. So Jura's not going to be able to sneak him. His intelligence seems to be a huge sleeper pick. So I don't think Jura's going to be able to catch him off guard with some ninja tactic. Not that Jura would even use ninja tactics in the first place. So he's just going to use his Otsutsuki raw power. That's not going to work. We saw how he did against Kawaki, that being Jura, and he'll underestimate him at first, and then Jura, he's totally down to just be damaged as long as he seemingly feels that he can heal. But he can't heal on his own. He needs the tree to heal. Damon, we don't know what his healing is, but he's never been damaged. He can't be damaged. So, well, assuming the hand retcon is actually true, but ignoring that. But even then, I don't understand how Jura would hurt Damon, because he can't drop a cube on him fast enough, I don't think. Taijutsu, if he gets in close, Damon's just gonna put his palms onto Jura and reflect anything.
What, you mean Jura? Oh, yeah, he could just use like something like a deep forest emergence, or I'm sorry, like deep forest bloom or something. Because like what this tells me is like Damon can't stop like biological like airborne pathogens or something what's that naked guy from part one that was fighting those
Bora.
kids? Yeah, that dude, Epstein. Yeah, that guy. He he I think he would definitively fold Damon, given his power set, and given Damon needs to be touching people to reflect with his palms specifically. Like I don't know how like his physical prowess is stopping like a pathogen.
I mean, it depends, because so from that I'm gonna take it that you just full-heartedly 100% just are going with the retcon going forwards and completely ignoring everything in the past no matter what based on the new information.
It depends on how I feel that day, to be honest.
That's fair, because for me it's beyond salvageable. You can't just write in both palms. You write in both palms, you look back at part one. No. Okay, people were already questioning one palm and making the most ridiculous leaps in logic for one palm of all time. You're not getting both palms. That's just, it's the most obvious thing of all time. You can see that's just not the case in like every instance.
This is the kind of stuff when I talk about like they just disrespect the fan base, bro. But hey, I'm not getting too emotionally invested, bro. I've been there, I've done that. I'm not doing it no more.
Yeah, that's fair. I know the other day Keto posted some panels of Damon with his palms. I'm gonna go find those really quick. That'd be quick if I just typed
Yeah,
in
I
here.
was hoping somebody would like do some comparisons to that, like, because I was like, is this a retcon? I don't remember because it's been years since like we've covered this material, but like I'm pretty sure this is a retcon. So I'm glad I'm
Yeah,
not like
there's also, ignoring
the
the
only one in that boat.
palms, there's also this. And without any context, I'm curious what your takeaway is. Do you think this is like a comedic moment, or do you think this was meant to be taken seriously? So this is Boruto and Damon at like breakfast or whatever. And Damon's basically making fun of the way that Boruto looks, saying he looks ugly. That's why Ada doesn't want to date him. Then you get to like the middle bottom, the bottom half of the panels here. So Damon's making fun of him. Boruto says, "Ugh, damn, that was close. I almost thought about killing that brat." We can see both of Damon's hands. He's not near Ada. He's not touching Ada. Well, he's near Ada, but he's not touching Ada. And as he's actively not touching anyone at all, Boruto's saying, "Damn, that was close. I almost thought about killing that brat." So, is this a comedic moment, or is this meant to be taken seriously? How do you think about that?
I do not remember how his abilities were explained to them prior to this scene, so I can't recall. But if I'm going inverse, Boruto is a genius. So like there's no way he would have an ability explained to him and then he would like not like be able to follow that up with like logic and yeah. So there's zero, that's so out of character. I would say that this would have to be him doing some like comedic stuff.
Okay. Who just joined? Who is that? I can't even tell. Well, it's someone, alright. But ignoring that, there's with that scene as well. It's also interesting because Boruto almost thought about killing that brat. So what did he think? Like, he's thinking in his mind in relation to killing Damon, but the ability's not triggering. Do you think there's like a minimum threshold to trigger Damon's ability? Like do intrusive counts thought count? Sorry, do intrusive thoughts count? Or like subconscious mind? But like, how does this work? Does it need to be intent that you actually plan to follow up on, or can you think about harming Damon without the intent to actually follow through on it?
I think your intent towards Damon is irrelevant, even though they keep mentioning it. And I think the number one, I think we should take the latest explanation about his abilities and then work backwards, if anything. So I would say that. And then having doing that, you would just isolate the keywords that they themselves emboldened during that explanation, but then also like, you know, the ones you also notice. So like things like he needs to sense things. That's super interesting. It implies he has like some sensory perception that allows him to like sense whatever the precursor to intent is. Like what elements come together to form intent? I guess like what like emotions would have to be some kind of factor into that. Some kind of thought process. So it seems like he can sense emotions and thoughts. If you can find like the base ingredients for intent, then that's what he should be able to sense. I think. So
that'd be
he can
interesting.
sense thoughts and emotions, I guess.
I mean, Damon's
and
sensory is arguably the best in the entire verse, which is ridiculous. I mean, bro's able to sense Uzuhiko, so that already alone.
bro's just like strong. Do I want to call him a Gary Stew? I don't know. I don't. I don't know, but yeah, it's that. So I think he might be able to sense thoughts and emotions, and then as a result, he can interpret based on those thoughts and emotions what your conclusion will be, and then he can pick and choose what he reflects. But at the same time, that's not true, because Kawaki when he shot at Code, he didn't intend for the blast to hit Damon, but it still reflected. And Damon didn't even know that Kawaki was there. He just woke up, so he wasn't clearly consciously sensing anything from Kawaki specifically. Yet and still the ability reflected. Um, so so this is the confusing part. It's like they baked like a red herring into the description in the latest chapter to throw you off because you keep factoring in Damon needing to sense things, but then you factor in intent in some way. But then you look at how it actually plays out, and it's like, well, Damon wasn't sensing things. He just woke up in that one scene, and Kawaki didn't intend for it to hit Damon. So why are you adding this into the description? So it's like, it's weird. The more you use the description, the more confused you're going to get. That's what I'm kind of saying. So you just kind of have to look at how it's implemented practically and then like arrive at conclusions, but then that's against the canon material. So you're just fucked. If you're trying to figure out what he's doing, you're fucked, I think.
But then
But
likewise, there's also the moment when Code's trying to test the reflectability when Damon jumps on top of Bug in Boro's hideout. So many names to keep track of. And he does the claw marks onto Damon's back, and then the claw marks reflect back on Code. It seems like, unless Damon was just trolling, Damon doesn't realize until afterwards that's what had happened. In which case, the troll would just be entirely off screen, and Ikimoto never told us, which again would be the most ridiculous thing of all time. So it doesn't seem to be like it's what he can sense. I mean, I'll be honest. I'm pretty sure that's just a Viz mess up. I don't think that's what they are actually saying in the Japanese. It's not what the other translation had at the very least. But I'm just trying to entertain it for now.
I think another.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, if he can reflect negative intent, sure, based on what he can sense. But then that tells me Damon is able to sense any type of intent. He's only able to reflect the negative intent. He's likely able to sense any intent. So he knows what you're gonna do before you do it for every single move you do, no matter what. If he's able to distinguish between harmful intent and non. So, for example, when Code was retreating at the end of his fight versus Damon, Damon knew he was going to do that, and he let Code get away.
I have to give some more thought about that last part, but I think that might be the real terrifying part about his ability, is that he actually is just basically has a form of precog or future sensing through his intent sensing, if that makes sense. A lot of sense in that. But yeah, like I think that might be like the most terrifying. Like the reflect thing is almost a red herring. Underneath that is like, how is he reflecting? Like, what is he like? The sense. I think him being a sensory type is his actual like true weapon. Because like you can imagine in combat, the thing that makes him such a beast in battle is that he is basically just looking into the future. He has like one piece like future sight, um, through sensing your intentions and your emotions. Like Goku from Dragon Ball Z when Trunks is attacking with the sword when they meet for the first time. He doesn't move, doesn't flinch. He's like, I searched your feelings. I knew your heart wasn't in it. Like what the what I'm sorry, sir, what? Yeah, so that's probably something like that. Like he doesn't have to like waste energy thinking about like waste chakra or waste mental fatigue or resources thinking about like what he'll do because he's trying to anticipate his opponents. He just knows what they'll do based upon like his sensory perception, and that like allows him to like use his chakra control in a way that like other characters just can't, which elevates him to like a tier that's like out of this world. Maybe if I'm trying to like parse out some kind of explanation for it, I think. But
I
yeah,
think
it's interesting.
to an extent, Damon also probably, aside from actual sensory, I think Damon does just have his sixth sense. Sixth sense. Say that 10 times fast. He has that honed. It's very heightened. It's gonna be like Killua, who can like sleep but hold the thing up, and all the other assassination techniques Killua has in Hunter x Hunter. It's gonna be like Kid Kakashi can sense Obito outside his window, but he doesn't have sensory. It's going to be like Haku could sense Zabuza was about to die, but that's just like randomly Haku's instinct, just his intuition telling him something's wrong. Just the sixth sense. I think Damon just has that honed to an extreme degree, to where he's just like a superhuman in that regard, in addition to a sensory that's like an actual chakra-based thing.
Yeah, and it's also interesting, like Damon just we've never seen his full power yet. So I think that's also really interesting. Um, but I think somebody like Boruto could definitely match a person who could potentially have some form of precog with his Byakugan's precognition if they kind of write it in a way that he can use that in battle. And also, I think Boruto also has all the conditions at some point to awaken omnipotence, like the full form of it, like a Shibai form of it. He has the body, and I think he has the I just think he meets all the Otsutsuki qualifications with his particular situation in a way that Kawaki just doesn't. So I think Boruto just has all the answers. He's one of those characters that just has. I think I'm echoing.
That was
He's one
Immortal.
of those characters. He has I think he's one of those characters that just has like all the power that he's ever going to need in the series. He already really has it. It's just like artificial limiters on him right now from the writer that prevents him from like using it.
Welcome back, Immortal.
I'm
Immortal?
just gonna mute him for now.
All right. Well, I'll
Say
let you know. Oh, he's back. All right. Welcome back, Immortal.
Yep.
Well, he said one word and is refusing to talk again. All right. Well, Immortal, let me know when you are. Oh, okay. Hello, Immortal.
What's going on? Sorry.
Welcome back.
Yeah,
So
we're just hear the audio from your computer. That's it.
Yeah. If you have a way to fix that, but I'll assume you're on it.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So, okay, Byron. All right. So right now, Immortal, we're talking about Damon and Damon's sensory ability. Do you think that because we know that Damon has very unique eyes, just like Ada, who has a dojutsu with the Senrigan. So Damon, being Ada's brother, Ada has the crescent and the moon. Damon has seemingly the sun, or something or the other in that regard. Do we think that Damon has a dojutsu or a sensory is linked to it? Because again, he has unique eyes. That doesn't necessarily mean that he does have a dojutsu. Look at Kakuzu from the Akatsuki. He just has the most unique eyes of all time. But no, they're just normal eyes, I guess, for whatever reason somehow. Probably dropped concept, but shout out Kishimoto, who was literally broke his back in the hospital around that time. But Damon, do we think there's something with his eyes? Because, for example, we know that Damon was able to see Kawaki's small chakra rods before he made them big and Damon caught them in his mouth. So that's just one instance of that. We know that Baryon Mode Naruto was able to do a very similar thing. Do we think that's because Damon's eyes, or was it because of his sensory, or was it something else?
So I think that could be something else. Maybe it's just the fact that Damon has really, I guess maybe it could be because he has really good reaction. Or
That could be the case. Really good reaction time from his physical prowess. Yeah. I think while you were going, I kind of had this like idea that he had like precog or like future sight through his sensory perception abilities. I think when you like kind of work your way backwards, maybe you can like because I'm thinking about that scene where he did grab those rods. I'm thinking to myself, yeah, he did grab those rods. Say that a few more times, okay? But yeah, like he did grab those, and I'm thinking, yeah, that could have been like a physical prowess thing, and I think maybe we could use Baryon mode as someone who's just like his power level so high to where he could just do that feat. But I also think that might be not. I don't think red herring is the correct word, but like almost effectively a misdirect because your mind just instantly goes back to like the last guy you saw do that. Um, so I would say if it is some form of future sight, then that scene makes a whole lot more sense to me. How he's not just some like physical stat beast because he just has like an enormous amount of chakra. Like it's like no, like he can sense in your emotions and your thoughts, and effectively your intentions, and as a result, it gives him a form of precog, similar to how like Sharingan allows you to see things on a microscopic level, so you can effectively simulate future sight by knowing what they're going to do before they do it. I think that's effectively what he's doing, um, with his sensory perception, and as a result, I think his ability is probably twofold at minimum. He has like a reflect ability that he can utilize, and clearly it has an autonomous feature where he doesn't need to be consciously aware. But I also think there's a version of that ability that will reflect things that he intends, that he wants reflected as well. So it factors in the subconscious and then like the conscious maybe. but I'm just kind of brainstorming and throwing ideas out there. So grain of salt that all of this, but so there's that, but then also like I think underneath that there is the ability to sense in general, and I think that might be the actual thing that makes him such a beast in battle. To where he's not just like physically stronger and physically faster, yeah, maybe, but not like to some exponential degree. The thing that makes him insurmountable is basically his like precog through sensory perception. But again, just some
Yeah.
like thoughts, just some ideas for sure.
I think I think what I'm now, to be honest with you, something tells me that maybe it could be that, Damon, Damon, I like to believe that Damon, like you said, Damon is some sort of physical stat beast in a way because of the fact that he is, or it could be a chance that he may be that, not only was he augmented by Amato because he is one of the cyborgs in Kara and perhaps one of the most strongest cyborgs out there. He also is with the cells of Shibai, so there could be a chance. I'm not saying that the cells in of itself could be that could be the determining factor and why Damon could do certain things. What I am going to say is that it could be because, well, it is because of the scientific ninja tools, and I don't know what specific. It's kind of funny. Whenever I say scientific ninja tools, I'm always wondering what specific tools is he using. That's the thing that I'm kind of that's the thing that always, kind of has me questioning. But
What do you mean? I think in the
well,
case of like the cyborgs, it would be like
yeah,
them in totality would be considered a tool, not necessarily like the individual components that make up like what they are.
yeah. So I'm thinking more like androids in a sense, not like not cyborgs, but I'm guessing cyborgs and androids are the same. I don't know.
Um, I don't think so. I think
No,
a cyborg has
no,
like biological components. I think an android is just
yeah,
like a robot. I think. I think.
yeah. I think cyborgs are just people that are like half people, half machine.
Yeah,
Like
like
they
a
are,
cyborg from Teen Titans. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then androids are just people that pretty much are just, robots that kind of look human, but they aren't
Yeah.
exactly human. Yeah.
I think
Okay.
Dragon Ball Z messed us up with like Android 18 and 17 because they're
Yeah.
not androids, they're cyborgs. I think in the Japanese version they call them cyborgs. But I'm not sure.
Yeah. Because it's kind of funny because I think it's kind of weird how, as an android, she's able to have kids with Krillin, but I mean, they made it work somehow. Maybe they built their kid. I don't know.
Yeah, it's because she's a cyborg, not an
Yeah.
android. Her
Yeah.
yeah, biological parts down there are clearly working, so yeah. Which
Yeah.
is very creepy for Dr. Gero. Creeper.
Yeah.
But yeah, different topic. Epstein type.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
they were trying to warn us. Yeah, let me stop. But yeah. Now, I also think with Damon, I would say another element at play could be that people are going off of information that they know, but there could be more information at play. That would be maybe Bug, the original human being, the Henny Lord himself, the OG, triple OG. Maybe that Bug was like he had knowledge about Damon's powers, but maybe that was misinformation. Or he could have knowledge about his powers, but he doesn't have the totality of the knowledge about what he's doing. It really does depend on if Bug as an original source of information is reliable. How did he get this information? That's never disseminated. I don't believe we just assume he was around, hanging around, and he kind of just got it by some means. So this is the information that Mamushi's relying upon. So and then this is the information Code was relying upon, and this is like so, and then we have like that scene where Damon is explaining his abilities to Code, and then Ada hushes him like, shh. So clearly they've established that there's a bit of a secrecy at play. Damon seems to like run off at the mouth, and Ada wants his abilities to be on the hush hush. Perhaps that's not like the first time that sentiment has been echoed. Perhaps that was echoed prior, and the information Bug ended up getting was false information. And Damon fights in such a way to where he substantiates that false information to his strategic advantage. Or that information about the palms is accurate, but there's more to the ability than just that, which would explain why we're seeing things that contradict the description. I think that also makes sense as well. But yeah.
So I think the best example of that would be the love charm being omnipotence. We got a original description. It was faulty, not necessarily in the description itself, but the inherent existence of the technique, because the love charm doesn't exist. It is a byproduct of omnipotence. But then later on, we get the truth revealed about it, which puts everything into the true light. So I think something like that could be similar, especially with the obvious parallels between Ada and Damon. I could see them doing something like that for sure.
I wouldn't rule out the possibility that Ada is actually amping Damon through omnipotence as well,
Yeah.
through some kind of subconscious link. I mean, for God's sake, they're always next to each other. And bro, have you watched Bleach?
I've seen through the
Have you
Bound
seen
arc.
Okay, you've seen enough, I think. Well, maybe you haven't. Do you
I
know
saw
about
through Soul
Zaraki
Society in
Kenpachi?
terms of canon.
Do you know about Zaraki and his like Zanpakuto, the truth about his Zanpakuto and his Bankai and stuff?
Which one is Zaraki? Is that the like really buff, cool one that I think
Never
got
mind.
an eye lost?
Never
He's
mind.
a porn
Never
world
mind.
looking.
Oh, for those who do know, I would just say I think there might. I don't think this actually, but I think it'll be interesting if a dynamic like that is playing with Ada and Damon, where Damon is like the Zanpakuto and she's the one that's conjuring him. But that's an aside. Let's go away from that. Um, I do think
Yeah, it
that's
is.
actually
Okay.
really interesting. But I do think Ada's omnipotence is playing a role with Damon. I'll just say it like that. And I think she might be giving him more abilities because clearly, like the charm thing, we classified that as a whole ability, even though it was a like it was branched off of omnipotence, its own thing. So it seems like omnipotence, like, can kind of branch off. If it might be through ignorance, maybe through whatever, but through actual mechanics. But it seems like you can create new abilities through omnipotence as well. And maybe she does this subconsciously with Damon. And that explains his unlimited power because omnipotence is like the will to make anything real. So he has like boundless, omnipotent power from his sister's subconscious desire to protect him or have someone in her life that cares about her. So she conjures them. But regardless, yeah, all of that. Interesting stuff.
Likewise, it could be the opposite to where one of Damon's secret abilities might be amping Ada. I mean, funny enough, it might be Damon is the one with omnipotence, allowing Ada to believe that she does.
Fire. I like that, actually.
Right?
That's actually really sick. I like that. Yeah.
By the way, I do know who Zaraki is. If you said Kanpachi, I probably would have knew quicker. But
Yeah.
the last I remember from this character is he'd had like Hashirama's 1,000 Years of Darkness or whatever that technique was applied to him, and he was beating people up while unable to see. And it was pretty cool. that's all. I don't remember any Bankais, but I remember that.
Yeah, just forget I said anything, okay?
All right. Moving away from that, you guys were mentioning scientific ninja tech. Something I thought was really interesting this chapter. We got something we haven't gotten in a solid 100 or so chapters from now ago. We had, if you remember, Kawaki in his fight against Garo. You know, Kawaki's debut fight to the manga. Kawaki overheated in that fight. He overheated for the second time ever in this chapter. Ever. He didn't overheat any other time. For the second time ever, he overheated here.
Yeah.
So, my biggest problem with this, he's overheating not because of his use of scientific ninja tech. He overheated from his karma. So, What?
Is that what caused him to overheat?
It's all he used.
But at this point, I think like maybe it's all like entwined
I don't know.
because
Can Boruto overheat from using his
well,
karma?
Boruto
I
doesn't
guess
have that kind of body, and then he doesn't have like an artificial karma either, like Kawaki. Oh,
I don't even know if an artificial karma is different per se.
not true, but well, it is technically different in that it was conjured by a non-Otsutsuki entity, so that in and of itself makes it different. Essentially by doing it though, I am implying that there's some kind of established difference. To be fair, so
Like an
but
effective difference, yeah.
yeah, and that's not established, but yeah, I think Boruto's situation is different, but I get it. Like even when he did it the first time, it just seems like his stuff is just so intertwined with each other that one thing affects the other. That it makes sense that if you like do this over here, then it would affect you over there. My whole thing was I think it was poorly defined to begin with, so it gives them room to kind of do whatever they want to with it later,
I agree.
which they did here. That's super convenient, and I don't like it. But and I could have sworn he was like absorbing chakra, maybe like fire attacks. So I'm like, shouldn't he have like reserve power from his karma absorption so that this doesn't happen? But at the same time, like maybe the output is so high because Mamushi's so powerful that he timed out quicker, and that would also explain Sarada's fatigue with Mangekyo. But then also you have a problem because you've established that he's not like that, that being Mamushi, because of the feats with Chocho and Shikadai. So you've already shot yourself in the foot with that. I don't know. I have nothing.
Yeah, but really, we're not going to have Kawaki Overheat versus Delta versus Boro versus Borushiki versus Ishiki versus Code versus Code again from Chapter 1 versus Boruto from 2 Vortex versus Jura twice. We're just
Well, to
not going
be
to have
fair,
him overheat from them? No.
though, like Jura's trash. Jura's giving me like Ishiki vibes now. Like I had hope for the boy, but he just wants to read a book, which I respect. Shout out to him. Knowledge is power, but this is a battle shonen, my guy. You can't keep letting people run off and then like I'm supposed to just be okay with that. You can't just be like talking about ick and cracking jokes, and I'm supposed to like you're supposed to maintain your menacing aura. That doesn't work. This is not. Yeah, this is contradictory. So yeah, like he's lost so much like everything for me. Um, so like yeah, like these my point is like these characters aren't really like that. It seems Mamushi's not like that. Hidari was never like that. I mean, he got finessed by base to 3 Tomoe Sharingan Sarda. Clearly he not like that. Jura, he keeps getting finessed. He got finessed by Team 10. Like the replacements, like the 2.0 versions, not even the OGs, like the kids. Like he got finessed by the kids. So like his aura is already questionable from the word go. And Mitsari, I forgot that she was even there. Ryu too. I actually forgot they existed. So so when I think about Kawaki fighting these dudes, these people, these entities, even like fighting Boruto, at least he was tired afterwards, after the whole like eye situation. And then the one with Momoshiki, Borushiki, he had like the horn, so maybe that made a little bit more sense. He was like at an elevated level, so he didn't like time out there. He didn't really do much against Ishiki, but like run and aura farm. So that was I understand that much. The only time he really, really turned up like that was against like Boro and Goro. Did they really have the same? Hell no. But wait, am making that up? Wait a minute. Um, but yeah, like and with Goro, now I'm getting confused. Damn it. With Boro, he he had a team with him, so that makes sense how he wasn't like really necessarily taxing himself like that. Um, you can argue some stuff, but he had a team with him. He was absorbing like yeah, he just had a team with him, so I can understand that a little bit more. So like this, so basically my point is I can go back and explain. Okay, I can see how he didn't like overheat for these situations. There's context there, But this one, I don't understand it. It just seems like you wanted to create more tension for your cliffhanger, so you just kind of like did it, even though like if he did anything to deserve overheating, it was done off panel because I didn't see anything remotely that warrant that. So,
I
and for all the
need
quirky people that think he scales to Boruto, I would definitely not do that anymore if you were doing that to begin with. But yeah.
Yeah. For me, I'm gonna need the explanation that the Karma Seal is linked to a scientific ninja tech for that overheating to make sense. Otherwise, I'm not gonna justify it. When Kawaki's been pushed so much farther, so many other times, in so many different ways, let alone output higher levels of power than anything he outputted here. And you have Kawaki fatigued, like falling over from exhaustion in other fights, and he's just fine. Here, he doesn't have a scratch on him. He's not huffing. He's not puffing. He's not doing. He's not blowing the house down. He's not doing any of it. He's falling over from heat exhaustion or whatever. Get out of here with that. No, I'm not. I don't buy that.
Well, well, you would then have to do like a comparison, like what's different from like what's different, then also like what's the same. Like, cause like I think when he overheated the first time, he had just gotten out of that little coffin thing or that little box,
Yeah.
and I think there was like some process he was undergoing at that time as well. Correct?
Right.
To get to a certain level to even be viable, if I recall. So it seems like he overheated after undergoing some kind of process on his cybernetic body, and then he fights and then he strains himself immediately after that and then overheats. It's the same thing in TBV, where he undergoes a process on his cybernetic body. He goes out there and fights, he gets strained, and then he overheats. So I can look at like the things that are similar. Um, and they're different in like obviously how it was done, but it was still done by the same guy. The methods probably are different. I don't necessarily know. I just know what I saw. Um, so like yeah, that makes sense to me. I think I can make some logical sense about that. You know?
As soon as they link it to Amado upgrading Kawaki the most recent time he went, which by the way, narratively, that didn't need to happen at all, but ignoring that. As soon as they do that, I'll shift my problem to something else. It'll still be a problem, but I'll shift it to something else. I think you mentioned that in a previous chapter, Kawaki absorbed one of Mamushi's fire style. Did you say that?
I said I think that I saw him absorb some kind of energy attack, which
Energy attack,
if
okay.
he did do that, and I was thinking, well, what kind of energy attack would it be? All he does is shoot fire. So if I did see it, it had to be fire. But I don't remember. I don't know. I'm just speculating. But if he
I don't
did do
remember
that,
that.
that should be something that like would help him not overheat. I would imagine.
I
But that was my only
remember
point in bringing it
Boruto
up.
absorbed a fire attack, but if anything, I could
Yeah, yeah.
imagine absorbing a fire attack would help you overheat. It's fire. I understand you're absorbing it, it's being converted back into chakra, but like I could just imagine it being written so easily. Just don't think about it. Hey, you absorb fire, overheat. There's the drawback. Just be written so easy. But
Maybe.
my contention there, that's exactly what Kawaki did against Borushiki after the Ishiki fight. Or if anything, no. Actually, no. I take it back. It was Borushiki who absorbed the fire. Kawaki set himself on fire and didn't overheat. Come on.
He was spitting flames in that fight. Yeah, especially in the anime. Can't recall in the manga. But yeah.
Consumed in flames. It's like you can't be more overheated than that.
Is
Anyways,
it is it is it like I don't know. It's, regardless of like if you can, I keep saying this like because people keep thinking it's enough to try to like explain the Chocho stuff, explain the Shikodai stuff, explain the Sarda stuff. It's like I don't necessarily care that you can find an explanation for it. I care that you like are searching for an explanation for it. That you shouldn't even need to try to justify or explain it just because you can. But like again, it's like twofold. It's like a critique about what happens from an inverse perspective and a critique about what happens from like an out of verse perspective. Like, why did you as a writer do this? And then like, why did you as a character do this? So there's like two critique, and like I keep finding that the fandom, at least the ones I've encountered, they keep like what's that old boomer saying? Like, cut off your nose to spite your face or something like that. I don't really know, but it's like in service of defending the nonsense that the writer does, they abandon the character, and then like vice versa. In order to like defend what the character does, they abandon the writer. But you can't defend both. It's like, and then they're like, it seems like they're like content on, like they're satisfied with like defending one but not both. It's like, well, if you defend one, that still leaves me with the writer messing up. So you haven't defended your series in totality. Like you have to beat both critiques in order to get what you want, which is the full defense of your series. So that is, it's just strange. It's just strange. I don't know, just some weird stuff. And it gets back to Kawaki. It's like we're sitting here like trying to like justify it or explain it or whatever. At least, I'm trying to at least. But
Mhm.
and I'm trying to be fair, but at the same time, it's like, man, never mind all these explanations or justifications or all this nonsense. Like sometimes it just boils down to does this work? Damn it, does it look cool? Does it make sense? Right? Like, is this really what you want? Like, yeah, you can do it, but just because you can doesn't mean you should. It's not what you do; it's how you do it. I've said this for years. So it's like, yeah, what is this? Like, yeah, Chocho can you had her, you can make it make sense that Chocho can speed blitz him by explaining he gets dumb and blah blah blah. But do you really want your main saga's antagonist getting speed blitz and not having his head knocked off by Chocho looking like that? Right before you showcase Damon turning up? Like, is that just because you can, is that a thing you want to do? Come on, think. This is the problem. This is one of the problems that I keep having is this bullshit justification. So just think about that a little bit more. To those particular fans, it's not all of the fans, but yeah, just some
Yeah.
thoughts though.
My one thing is that I really thought they were going to have Boruto exhausted from fighting back to back in the first one or two arcs, whatever you want to consider it, of Two Blue Vortex, with the Code invasion immediately followed up by the Hidari invasion, the Jura invasion, all that fighting back to back nonstop. I figured they were going to do something with an exhaustion point there. They never really played up on it the way I figured they would here. That would be my excuse for how to get out of it here. Even though Kawaki did practically nothing this chapter, and specifically in this chapter he overheated, my one justification would be Kawaki's been fighting off screen for several chapters now against, who knows, dozens of Mamushi clones, potentially. So he's been fighting non-stop for seemingly quite a while now, potentially. But is that really enough for me? Because like you said, if they're going to do that, then they can have Kawaki overheat literally whenever they want narratively. Could be at any
Yeah,
point
it's
at all.
like in service of a punchy cliffhanger, they abandon the character. They make the
Yeah.
character less than. It's the same thing with Sarada. Like in service of this punchy clip, like why did Sarada need to be the play finisher? It could have been Damon. Why didn't Shikamaru solidify this information before all of this happened? Why wasn't this last ditch plan the first plan? It strategically is sound and makes sense. It wouldn't have put your citizenry in danger. You wouldn't have spread your military force thin, and you would have coalesced all of the threat to one, like you would have bottlenecked the threat. Like it just strategically makes sense. And then Sarda wouldn't have even had a need to use her Sharingan. But if you wanted to use her Sharingan, um, why didn't you establish that with her? Hey, maybe we shouldn't use that yet. Even if you didn't, like he's like, I didn't think it would have that much strain. Of course, you didn't know, so you should have taken that lack of information into consideration, genius. The great war general Shikamaru. Come on, like if I can think this way, surely the great war general Shikamaru can. So I'm like that, like so for a punchy cliffhanger where she runs out of power at the last ass second or Kawaki times out, they lessen the characters. Shikamaru is lessened. Sarada's made less than. Kawaki's made less than. Right? It's just that for me also. It seems to be a little weird.
Well,
I
it's
don't, I
it's
don't get
funny
it.
you say that because this has been the one of the stupidest plans in all of anime I've ever seen. If you want to have Chocho with your bad plan, Ikimoto, fine. If you can't come up with a good plan, fine. you can't bring Shikamaru into it. He's the guy who's known for the over 200 IQ battle tactician genius. You can't give him a dumb plan. If you can't come up with a smart plan to give to Shikamaru, write him out of it. Write other characters in. You can't you can't write
Right.
Shikamaru if you can't write smart.
It's like it's exactly, and it's like, bro, you had the main antagonist for this saga or arc or whatever is one of his like weaknesses is that he gets dumber, and then you have a character on the protagonist side that's a battle genius and or a overall genius in general. You have too much intelligence on the hero side. Just Boruto and Shikamaru and Koji alone, let alone like Sarada and I would imagine well, I'm not going to give Delta intelligent feats. Okay, never mind. She fell for Ada's abilities. Okay, but like there's a lot of intelligence on our protagonist sides, and that's not being leveraged. In fact, like they're just made to look dumb. In fact, they're so intelligent. The fact that they even had this plan was stupid. Like, why didn't he factor in
Yeah.
that they would have been overwhelmed by dividing their forces like that? How did he not have sort of measurement about Sarada's stamina levels? And then also, like, if you couldn't get that information, factor that into your strategy. Like, it just does not make sense to me. Um, and so like you just keep finding these like kind of inconsistencies in the material that just are just so frustrating because you want to love it, bro. Like the spectacle is
Yeah,
so cool. The setup is so
exactly.
cool. It's so like Matrix Agent Smith with all the clones and Boruto flying with his like Neo energy with the cloak flapping in the wind. Like it's like even when Boruto shows up, I said this on my stream. It reminded me of oh I'm about to get the Boruto fandom mad apparently because you know whatever it's PlayStation versus Xbox all over again. But like that scene where like Deku from My Hero Academy, Dark Deku, he wraps Muscular up and then he like slams him with Black Whip and he like levitates down in the anime with like just looking like a ore farming beast. That's what Boruto kind of I got those vibes at the start of the chapter where Boruto just like levitating there. That was a decision. They could have had him walk there. They could have had him standing there. They could have had him voguing with his hand on his sword, right? Take do it that sentence what you want. They could have had him doing that, right? But no, they made a choice to have him like hovering above him, like with the cloak flapping. Like it was just sick. I love it. I love the decisions, and I love the artistic not even I said it not even just the art, but just like his decision about where to place the characters. Like that scene where Sarda starts Ohiram and she starts levitating with her hands out, like it's so fire, bro. Like it's even the scene where like Damon grabs Ada's like grabs her cheeks, grabs her like face, and he's like imbeciles like that, and then she just like has this plain face that she's like poses and flexes aura
With
forms.
Damon's
Like
face,
it,
it's so good. I love it. So
yeah,
iconic right
that
there.
panel's so fire,
I
bro. Like
know.
like even like the scene where um like even just the stuff like Mitsuki there, like all of that's fire. Which by the way, if we're scaling Mamushi up to where he ought to be, Chocho, you bastard. Mitsuki getting some god tier plus Jigen feats. That's what I would have said, but now it doesn't mean anything. So now I'm extra pissed because Mitsuki finally got something and it means nothing. Like what the fuck? But yeah,
Didn't kill any
it's
Mamushis, by the way. Just tossed them in the air.
yeah, yeah. A boy can
So,
dream.
still the claw grind victim. Sage Mitsuki.
Damn, these Mamushis do feel like claw grimes, bro.
No. Well, that's the thing. Kamui actually went back to double check. The way Inoshika Cho describes the claw grime fight versus the Mamushi invasion is nearly 1-to-1 identical dialogue. They're literally treated the same way.
That's you know what I can see it.
It's
No, that's it's
ridiculous.
not supposed to be that way, bro. And also like why didn't they leverage the Grimes, bro? Like you could have all those clones with all those Grimes, bro. Like, hey, listen, I'm gonna have these Grimes over here so that now you guys gotta be distracted, and I'm going to force you to divide your military force. Like, why isn't Hidari and Juro? Where are they? Why aren't they helping their comrade? Don't they have like an objective to like seek the thing that they want to devour? Why aren't they being helped? Why is why is Jura not trying to get like Ryu and Mitsari back?
This just
Like
goes back
what's
to writing
happening?
intelligence. So I will say, because this is where I would say it would be too far of the memeing around of insulting Ikimoto. We aren't saying Ikimoto is stupid when we say this, because being intelligence and writing intelligence is two different things. Writing intelligence is actually a pretty difficult thing to do. You have to be like above and beyond in order to write intelligent. It doesn't necessarily have to do with the intelligence of the author, but the intelligence of the author is a limitation to their writing inherently. So there's a big difference there. So if we say that their plan isn't smart because Ikimoto doesn't know how to write it correctly, then that's not us saying Ikimoto's dumb. I do want to at least say that.
I assume you got a comment.
No, that
Trying
was
to
just me saying it off the top.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's a distinct difference there. And from my estimation, all intelligence is just like your inquisitive nature, your ability to seek not like knowledge and have creative capacity and just be adaptable. Because anything else is just knowledge retention. Um, yeah, and there's like varying different degrees in that spectrum, but I mean, it's not like some like difficult thing to measure. So yeah, like you can find people who don't know mathematics, who don't know how to read even, who are very intelligent under a certain context, like street smarts or like
Yeah.
yeah, genius manifests itself. But the underlying like I think common denominator is like your inquisitiveness and your adaptability. Yeah, your what is it, neuroplasticity, like this. Shout out to my neurodivergent people. Okay, we have that in spades naturally. Okay, but yeah, it's just getting back to Boruto though.
Well, on that really quick, it's because just as an example, Shikamaru's IQ is stated to be over 200, but it's not really because it's written by a guy Kishimoto whose IQ isn't over 200. So Shikamaru's IQ is whatever Ikimoto or Kishimoto's IQ maxes out at. But obviously, for Shikamaru, that's in universe. It's written in a way to where we believe it's over 200 the way it's written. Shikamaru doesn't necessarily have to display it in the craziest kind of way. It's the way it's written, how it comes across to be 200. It's also Shikamaru is just like 200 at any given time, whereas Kishimoto can look up anything he wants without like any time constraint to be whatever intelligence level he needs to be on any certain level of field. Where Shikamaru would obviously just be able to recite it because he just already knows it. So there's like a
It's
difference right
just
there.
I just for me, I don't feel like there should be any chance. Like the cliffhanger to me just doesn't work when you have somebody like Shikamaru guiding the pieces on the board. Like what this all should be is how I would write it is that Shikamaru does like a front-facing plan, like a surface level plan from the perspective of the viewer, and then that plan fails, but that wasn't actually his real plan. That plan was designed to fail so that he could execute his actual plan underneath that. So it's multi-layered, and the villain has to get past the layers. But we as the viewer doesn't know, so that creates suspense and tension and drama. And the villain within the material doesn't know, and they think they have their big brain moments. Um, this is how you kind of write Shikamaru here to where like you should never have him in the middle of a mission asking probing questions to Sarada about how her ability, like how she can use her ability. He
Yeah,
should all
because
have
you
already
have
done that.
that this adult Shikamaru asking that when you have teen Shikamaru saying, "Oh yeah, well don't worry, Hidan, if this plan didn't work, I had 37 other plans I would have done."
Right. Exactly. Like everything that happens right now should have been in his like with all within his calculations. And the only reason why it even comes off as some kind of suspense or tension is because we don't know it as a viewer. It's like Shikamaru should have had the moment at the end of the chapter that Koji had, to where he has his head down with
Right.
like we look like it looks like he's defeated, but in actuality, at the start of the next chapter, he like smirks because it's all a part of his plan. Like none of this should be out of like he should have factored in like there's a 25% probability that he was going to do this, or like there's a 15% chance that this plan would have failed, so I anticipated that, so I already had them maneuvered in position here strategically. Like there should already be like 100 shinobi ready to use some like sealing jutsu at that location, and there should be a ritual underneath the earth right now that they already set up hours ago. Like that's what it
Exactly.
should be.
Right.
And like Deku versus Shigaraki already put like Black Whip underneath the ground when they arrived at like Mount Fuji. Like when he like fell down there, and that was revealed like 5 minutes later into like the fight. It's like, whoa, he was strategizing all the way back then, even when he was getting like pummeled all the way back here. Yeah, because that's what strategic combatants do. They're big brain as fuck. So like, but so when you have like, yeah, Shikamaru's like, how many do you think you can defeat? You should probably already know that, Shikamaru. Or like, huh, I didn't anticipate that this would have so much strain. He should have factored in his lack of knowledge about her stamina with this new jutsu into his plans. Like, why? And hey, why don't I just have Damon be the play finisher? Why do I even need to switch to Sarda to begin with? Like, all of these things should have been taken into consideration. Why? And then also, why is it that Kawaki's overheating? Like, was he not able to like handle his bunch? Like Sarda can handle 50 in a burst, she says. Right? She just ran out of stamina. What, so Kawaki can't do that? He's supposed to be some almighty Otsutsuki. Like, we're assuming he's out here fighting these guys off panel, and that's the reason why he overheats. Well, I'm like, how many was he fighting? Like, I don't know. The Kawaki thing aside though, that's kind of like some of my issues with like the writing and the choice. And when you do it this way, you just diminish everybody. There should not be a chance that they have against a Shikamaru, a team of Shikamaru, a future sight Koji, fucking Boruto. Like this team is a 100% death squad. Nobody in history of
Exactly.
Shinobi in this franchise should be able to beat this team. Not Madara, Obito, not Kaguya, nobody, no one. No one should be able to beat this team. This team is god tier. I don't understand how this is a cliffhanger. I don't understand.
The beginning of the end was the cliffhanger for last chapter, to where Shikamaru said, "Oh man, this is bad. I guess we're forced to use our last resort." What do you mean last resort? When did it deviate from the first resort? When did Mamushi push you off of your plan A? In fact, this is the plan A. The plan A was to get all the Mamushis herded together and then take them all at once. Take them all out at once with the jutsu. That's exactly what you're doing. What do you mean last resort? How many resorts did you go through? I don't know. Why would you deviate from the plan in the get-go? The original plan, as stated by Koji, was get Mamushi to divide to 20 to 30, then take them all out at once because they're going to cluster together by themselves naturally, by the way. You're not going to have to do it. You're not going to have to bring them over to Ada. No, they'll just do it naturally. You know, at 20 to 30, ignore that they got up to 200 and we're only spreading out further. But ignoring that. So first of all, why would you attack Mamushi? Just at all? Because you need to let him divide to get up to 20 to 30. He started at less than that. So you're going to start killing them, wasting your energy, taking numbers out before you get to that 20 to 30 you need minimum. That's how they started. That's what Boruto did. Off-guarded, took out a Mamushi for no reason. Just wasted a flying Raiji. Just didn't let Mamushi divide.
Before I forget, why the whole build up for his karma and the Momoshiki contract thing was supposed to be for Jura? Why did he blow his load so, bro? It's
so
bro.
bad. Yeah. It's not just the debut of the karma against Mamushi. It's the debut of Kawaki's second power-up versus Mamushi as well.
And
after the first one was versus
Byakugan.
Juro.
Bro, he debuted his karma, post-time skip karma, Byakugan against essentially the putties from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Essentially grunts. Somebody that base Chocho can defeat. This is who you were, bro. You just don't do this as a writer. I don't understand why this is a, bro. The whole fandom should be outraged, bro.
Meanwhile, Kawaki was doing just fine against Jura last time we saw him. I understand technically if the fight kept going on, Jura probably could have easily took him out, but that's not what Ikimoto wrote. So, he struggled more against Mamushi than he did against Jura, regardless of context. That's what Ikimoto wrote.
Bro, Boruto is such a cool fucking character, bro. From his jutsu, from his design. Like, I'm talking about Two Blue Vortex. I don't care too much about part one Boruto to be honest. But because it's basically the Momoshiki show. I'm gonna be on all his ace moments are Momoshiki. I'm gonna be honest, for the most part. Minus anime filler. Thank God for the anime.
Yes.
But TBV Boruto, bro, is a different beast altogether. This dude is so goddamn cool. He has the potential to be up there with like Yusuke Urameshi, Luffy. To me, like he's cool as fuck. He has all the ingredients. He is just stuck in purgatory. His own series. He does not deserve this, bro. Sarada is a cool fucking character. The design, the power mechanics, just the lore that every Mitsuki, bro, don't even. I think Mitsuki probably has like the sickest design in the entire franchise potentially with that Sage mode. All like even Kawaki, I think he's sick, minus the mullet. I'm not a fan of the mullet, but sick. All that's dope. All of it, bro. It's just wasted on this fucking writer. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to do this to him, but bro, it's and they waste Naruto's legacy as a franchise, bro. I'm looking at this. It's like, oh, 1,000 base Chocho level clones. I'm like, bro, Naruto is creating 2K as a boy,
I know.
and I'm supposed to be intimidated by 1,000 Chocho level clones. Bro, all I'm thinking about, bro, if only we had the GOATs, Sage Mode Naruto, just Sage Mode adult Naruto alone should be able to handle this if base Chocho can on an individual basis. This dude would go ham. Like, bro, it pales in comparison to your daddy. That's what it is, bro. Your daddy did it better. And I can't help but notice it. And I don't understand why he has the aura of like prime Sasuke with like the legacy of like Naruto at his back. He has every fucking thing. They nailed the formula for cool motherfucker with him. Okay? And it's why waste his big reveal of his Byakugan? Why waste his karma? Use this big contract. Your life is on the line with this. And you need this power for Jura, and you use it against fucking Mamushi clones, bro. Man, watch out, man. I'm good. Like I expect he'll have a horn version, and that's what he'll use against he'll have the eye with the horn, and it'll be some combination of Momoshiki, like, you know, the one the all for the one for all vestige just talking to, it'll be Momoshiki's ghost, spectral ghosts outside giving him strategy of tips and advice as they merge as become, it'll be cool as fuck. I'm not denying it, but I'm just saying, even if it's stage 1 karma, which and this is not even guaranteed, bro, by the way. I'm just assuming and hoping that he has another version of his karma, that that's actually what they're saving. Um, I don't know, bro. It's just why. I just keep asking myself why. I keep wasting brain power trying to ask myself why Ikimoto instead of just enjoying the material. That's the issue.
So I'm gonna make a disingenuous argument just to see if we're being unfair to Boruto.
Okay.
I'm gonna argue Kishimoto did the same exact thing with KCM. Its debut move was against Samehara, and then the Turtle Island Barrier team as its second, and then White Zetsu as its third. Then you finally get to any sort of actual fight against the Raikage as the fourth debut, but that's an ally. That's not even an opponent. And I think the fifth one was the Edo Tensei Magnet style, which Naruto one-shot. From there, I think that's when you get to Edo Itachi, and Nagato is the sixth. But you get six before you get to... Okay, go for it.
I got this. This is easy. So there's obviously, you're taking a look at like the comparisons, and they're saying, well, if you have a critique against Boruto doing this here, you should have a critique against Naruto doing this here, because he showcased this new form against a lesser tier combatant. And then not even a lesser tier combatant, it's just like a lesser tier combatant in the form of like his fucking sword or some shit. Like he wasn't even at his best. But there's a distinct difference here, and that's you have to look at the context surrounding the characters and where they are in the story at that time. You don't want Naruto's brand new form that he doesn't have a level of mastery over being showcased against a top tier combatant, because he doesn't have a level of mastery over it. It wouldn't make sense logically, and he would just get dusted. Even if the power itself is enough to defeat that villain, he doesn't have a level of mastery over it. So you want to have him showcase that ability against powerful but lesser tier villains or antagonists, to service that purpose. In comparison, Boruto doesn't have this problem with his karma. He knows how to use this. This isn't like part 1. The issues with his karma are kind of on the back end, really, with the contract with Momoshiki, or just Momoshiki's dynamic in general was the problem. But his utility of the ability is not an issue. So he doesn't have the same narrative purpose. The same narrative purpose isn't at play with Boruto that it would be at Naruto at that given time. So you don't need Boruto using his karma. Effectively, what this translates to is you don't have Boruto utilize his karma against a lesser tier combatant um, that's not your ace, like a Jura, because he has a level of mastery over it. And you do have Naruto use his new form against a lesser tier combatant, not the big ace, because he doesn't have a level of mastery. It's just different. But yeah,
Okay, yeah, that was easy. Yeah, because Boruto's getting access back to something he already had. So yeah,
correct.
I agree.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I like that. Um, so with the plan,
Mhm.
I have a theory. So with the numbers of Mamushi, I have a theory. I think that Ikimoto is trying to pretend Naruto didn't exist, so he's ignoring everything from the original series and he's just making his own series. I think what Ikimoto's doing with the numbers is rather than taking inspiration from Naruto, even though he's writing set in a Naruto world, not a he said in the Naruto world, direct continuation,
Right.
but ignoring that, you know,
A
like
Naruto.
Ikimoto's trying to do,
It's
ignoring
the.
that.
Yeah.
Um, I think this inspiration from Mamushi's number is he's trying to take inspiration from Dragon Ball Z, early Dragon Ball Z's power scaling with the numbers they do there. So Koji's original numbers was 20 to 30. You're more than doubling that with Mushi dividing up to 50. Then the next chapter, it's up to 100. Chapter after that, over 200. Following chapter, now we're up to 1,000. I feel like
Over
Ikimoto's doing
9,000.
similar
Yeah.
exponents, similar to the power levels of Dragon Ball.
Yeah, but like the problem with that would be that he's doing it poorly.
Yes.
That's the that if that would be true, I don't even know how you arrive at this conclusion because you're doing it so poorly. It's damn near not even like a like I hate this word paying homage. You're not even like doing that. You're just doing something else, and then yeah, it's not even the same thing. I don't. It just has numbers in common. Like
See,
it just has scaling numbers in common. That's it.
but that's the exact problem because Ikimoto is doing these distinctions at certain levels of numbers. We do get time with each of these levels. 50 Mamushis, 100 Mamushis, 200 Mamushis, now at up to 1,000 Mamushis. We're getting these levels for set amount of times to see the threat level at each level. And as it increases, to see how it increases. The problem is, we don't know how threatening 50 or 100 or 200 Mamushis are. First of all, they're not clustered together, and they're not doing any damage. They're not fighting. At best, we get random fights across the village between, like, one set of characters and, like, 4 to 5 Mamushis at a time. Sarda did, like, I think 12, which was, you know, the outlier, but it's not like it was really a fight anyways. We're not seeing the damage level that these different levels of Mamushi can do. So 1,000 Mamushis to us is effectively no different than 200 because Ikimoto didn't make that distinction. We don't know the difference in level between these two, so the threat hasn't increased.
That's true. It's just arbitrary, and there's it's like that wouldn't work because you're lacking in so much nuance and specificity. Like you just haven't described enough to even rely on that.
Exactly.
That's why I don't even think that's a thing that he could even possibly be doing. And if it is something that he's doing, uh, that just adds to my critique, I suppose. Yeah.
At this point, I'm lost on where just one single Mamushi scales, so I have no idea at this point.
But but if you're just you have any kind of like literacy with like media, you should have an understanding about where he scales because of chapter 4. Like I just don't understand
Exactly.
like we keep trying to this is why I keep saying like in order to like try to make sense of like things they're doing now, you have to like lessen the characters. You're like belittling Boruto in chapter 4. Like this is Boruto Uzumaki on a mission to like stop the worst possible future. The context he's trying to save his master. Why would he be holding back under this context? Like this is one Shinju revealed at that time, the very first one, which was Mamushi. There was nobody else, and it was a 1v1 fight, and they fought on par with each other, and Boruto literally ran to Code and asked him to help him. So it's clear that at minimum they're relative. In my opinion, Boruto lost that fight because he ran away and literally asked another dude to help him. But it's clear they're at the very least relative to each other. it's clear that Hidari was at least relative to Boruto when they clashed Rasengans and Chidori. So like, you should be able to have somewhat of a gauge about where these characters are. So in service of explaining Chocho speed blitzing a character that should be on post time skip Boruto's level, like you gotta. I had problems with Sarada doing that to Hida mid, bro. He wasn't even charging it. She was off guard, starting from base mid strike, and then she went from base perception to going into her Sharingan, 3 to Moe, then dodging it, and then being fast. Bro, that's insane. That I don't think people to this day understand how ridiculous of a feat that is. We're fucking, even for me as a Sarda fan, I'm like, why would you ever do that? You destroy Hidari in that moment, bro. Like, she should not need shotting. Bro, Mangekyo should be a footnote. She should be able to dust characters like Boruto with 3 to Moe, given this scaling. That's how ridiculous it was. I was just a Sarada fan, so I didn't really call it out. I was biased as fuck at the time. But in hindsight, bro, that's a problem when you have Hidari clashing with Boruto, given the context Boruto was in, shouldn't be holding back. So you should say Hidari's is relative to Boruto in this context. How can Sarada go from base to 3 to Moe and do that to him? That he matched Boruto's speed with they met at the epicenter. He matched his striking speed with the jutsu because it's a close quarters technique. They arrived at the same time. How is Sarada outspeeding Boruto with 3 to Moe? Fuck 3 to Moe in base. Her perception in base. Mid Chidori strike. That's a problem, bro. So yeah, there's too much. There's too many. And then she gets like off guarded by Grimes prior to that, but she can like outspeed a Hidari mid Chidori. Bro. I don't know, bro.
So
I
the way
don't know.
Yukimoto wrote it, with Mamushi's splitting ability, the quantity goes up, but the quality doesn't decrease. Each Mamushi is as strong as the original. So that's the way Ikimoto's been increasing the stakes of this arc. The quantity's been increasing. The problem there, because this is multifaceted levels of a problem. The problem there is we can't scale the increase in difficulty based on the quantity because we're not getting an accurate measurement of where that quantity is scaling. But beyond that, we can't measure the difference in quantity even if we could do that because we don't have an accurate measure for the quality anymore. We can't measure the quantity in the first place if we can't measure the quality of Mamushi. That's the problem.
Bro,
so the numbers don't matter. They never
I'm not
did.
sure how you would do this, and I'm going off the top of my head. This is how I would write this, bro. I would establish, because you already did, that Mamoshi's somewhat relative to Boruto. I'm saying somewhat because I'm being nice. In chapter 4, that should stick and hold because he doesn't do shit prior to this. After this. So when he comes in, I immediately have him go up against Boruto. Immediately. And I'm doing this to establish him as a villain in this particular arc. You have a vague notion from chapter 4. Now you're going to really understand. I'm using Boruto to get that point across. I'm going to do exactly what they did at the start. Have Boruto get pressed and struggle. And I'm going to have it be this kind of like almost like a desperate struggle for Boruto through like the streets of Konoha as he fights off these dudes. But I'm not going to have him struggle too much, but I'm going to have him struggle with like maybe 3, right? Like 3 of these guys, it's a big struggle. 4, it's almost impossible for him, right? And he can only do this fine with karma because I'll save like another stage of karma for later. So he can use karma to elevate because it makes sense that they're relative in chapter 4. He should be able to use karma to elevate above. But this will be like a last resort thing, right?
That would also
And
be easy to see a quantification for the karma.
Exactly. I would have him max out at like 4. I can only handle 4 in base. At 4, I have a problem. Now, and I would borrow hints from like Luffy, One Piece in his lobby. I'm not going to go too much detail on that. Where like the whole gear system that they incorporated with gear 2nd and gear 3rd around that arc, to where like he's like, oh man, Luffy's fighting this dude in base, and he's like, man, Luffy's like, man, this is no good. And then he's like gear 2nd, and he goes gear 2nd. He's like, you won't be able to keep up with me anymore. right? It should be something like that with Boruto. He's fighting and he's like, man, this is no good. I can't like 4 of them is too much.
Because the
I
way you're
gotta
writing
turn up
it,
now.
it's so simple, but that's actually a good thing in this case. It's easy to follow. The power scaling has become seamless, so it's something that you can subconsciously pick up on while your focus remains on the narrative. That's how you write Battle Shonen. That's how it's supposed to be done.
Correct. And so you don't even need him to use karma. Have him divide to be 4 Mamushis. Like you've grown stronger, Otsutsuki. And then he goes to 4. Um, but he's like, but it's not enough. And he goes to 4. And then Boruto's like, yo, this is a problem. I guess I'm gonna have to turn up sooner than I thought. And then he's about to activate karma, but then like have an ally show up that gives him an edge or something. Or like the sword wasn't the new sword is it gives him enough of a power boost to where he can contend with like up to 3 in base, but the 4th is too much. It didn't have like maybe Kawaki show up or something, or some other character show up that gives him an edge to beat 4. And then once they beat 4, like Mamushi like scurries away or whatever. And then now we haven't established that okay, base Boruto is this strong. Even with his enhanced sword, he can only scale up to 4, and he only got out of the situation because he got help. But we understand he had more in the chamber, so you don't devalue Boruto as well. He could have handled it, but it would have required an escalation that he didn't necessarily want to use this soon. And then when he encounters new Inashika Cho, now the stakes are fucking through the roof because now you understand, yo, 4 of these Boruto couldn't handle this and he needed help. And base, even with an enhancement with his sword, now you got fucking little baby Himawari and Chocho with Shikadai, bro. This is going to be a problem. And then have them struggle with just 1. Only Himawari can go up against 2. 3 is out of her range. This gets you where she is relative to base Boruto with an enhanced sword, because he can handle 3, she can only handle 2. This type of stuff works. Have a scene where Chocho is isolated from her allies, and she has to contend with like 1 or 2 Mamushis in like an alley, and it's like Deku and Ida and Shoto versus Stain from My Hero.
Yeah.
Is isolated for like a chapter in that one alley, and it's desperate season for Chocho. And she's fighting with all her ninja prowess and her tactics just to survive, let alone like defeat 2 Mamushi. And then she needs help from like strategies from like Shikadai to even survive. And she's critically wounded, and then she needs healing from Himawari. Right? Like this is how it should be. It should be a fucking struggle, and they barely make it. And the only reason why they like don't like fall is because Boruto like they activate the Shikamaru's plan, and then like he's like Boruto shows up like, bro, I'll just take you to here because my sister's about to die, everybody's about to die. I can only handle 4 of these motherfuckers. Like, Damon, you up, bro? Like we thought, but we fucked around and found out. Then when they see Damon going ham, whoa. It makes more sense. And you don't undercut Damon's showcase because Chocho didn't speed blitz shit. She barely fucking survived in her butterfly mode against 2. Like she was struggling. And Big Himawari, with all her training, she could only contend with like 2 of them at a time. And by the 3rd one, like Kurama's like, I didn't want you to have to pull this out, but I guess we'll have to use that move. And there's like, oh shit, similar to Boruto, same trick, but hey, old hat, it still works, right? You don't devalue Himawari. She has something left in the chamber that you are hype and anticipated with. And then like our characters get saved by Boruto. We go there, Damon does his showcase. Now we're all in awe. But then he like, I would write the Damon stuff a little different, but I don't want to yap for too much. But yeah, like I think that just that alone, I think would have been a huge difference in my opinion.
You know
And
what's
that's just off
crazy?
the top of my head. I haven't even thought about it in any great detail.
You've practically just verbatim described the pain arc of Naruto. That's exactly what they do with the pain invasion. Think about it. You got the 6 different pains, so there's already multiple enemies with one enemy. They split up, so they're each like in individual path of pain, fighting against multiple combatants of different levels. You have Kakashi versus the Tendo path. All right, we get that sort of level right there. Then we get over to like the Naraka path or whatever name it is with Ebisu and Konohamaru. We get to see where these characters scale with Shikamaru, Sakura, all that, but we get to see how much they've grown, especially even like some of their debut introduction with the Konohamaru stuff. And they're still hyping up these pains. They're saying, oh man, this guy's way faster than me. This is what Konohamaru is saying about the weakest path of pain, by the way. And he's not taking it down just by, Speed Blitz one-shotting his head off. Keep in mind, the paths of pain are smart, and Konohamaru has to do ninja tactics to outsmart it anyways. Not only is the Mamushi clone supposed to be dumb as it splits up, which means you should do the ninja tactics, which you should be doing anyways. It's Naruto, and they're just not doing that. They're just Speed Blitz one-shotting instead of doing ninja tactics against the enemy that's supposed to be stupider, in the Naruto series, when that's supposed to happen anyways. But no, Konohamaru's doing that against Pain, who should be smarter and faster than him, and he does manage to get it off through a stroke of luck. You get, I think it's the human path versus the entire Inuzuka clan, Kiba's clan. You get Konan versus the entire Aburame clan. You get all these different groups of people against these individual combatants. That's exactly how it should be. With Ino Shikacho, with Himawari, that's exactly how you just described it. That's exactly it. And then I guess Damon in this case would be Sage Mode Naruto in a way. So I think that just works perfectly.
Exactly. And imagine, and that's not a bad arc to try to emulate. One of the best ever.
Exactly. People's favorite.
But imagine if they actually made use of the grunt class that they have for the antagonist in the Claw Grimes, and they just weren't an afterthought. Like, imagine if Mamushi actually utilized intelligence at the start so that we can contrast when he actually starts getting dumb, we can actually understand that. Because we actually see him at the beginning strategizing, right? Being very intelligent.
That's especially the problem. Mamushi's never come across as smart. He's only come across as dumb. But we don't even know that. He just comes across that way. We have zero idea where he is, intellectually wise, at any point. Regardless of splitting, regardless of being normal. We don't know at any point what he's like.
You need to establish that baseline, especially if you're going to have it right in a mechanic to where, like, the more dangerous he gets with his numbers, you would imagine quantity equals danger. Then he gets dumber. Well, you need to establish that he's smart in general. In fact, I would have done that. I would have maybe had a statement to where Juris like, "That's what I like about you the most," or something like that. Like amongst all of the other Shinju, like you are the most inquisitive or most clever, or have some backhanded compliment or something like that about his like cleverness or his craftiness. He's sneaky, crafty, and a schemer, something like that. Like that would have gone a long way, and then actually showed that he's smart and intelligent. As he like uses the Claw Grimes and says, and for that time period while we're training, actually make use of that time. Hey, you know what? I'm gonna spend this time doing this thing to make the Grimes a little bit stronger. So when I go invade Konoha, I'm gonna have boosted Grimes. And then somehow we learn about this, right? The Claw Grimes show up, they encounter like Chocho or something. So if you want to have Chocho have a moment and showcase her training, have it be against the Grimes. She shows up, man, I got this. These Grimes they're all numbers, and it's just one of them. She shows up and her move doesn't work. Nani, the Grimes got stronger? What? And this information goes throughout the network, the mental network throughout the team. And then Chocho kind of gets hit, and they have to come up with a strategy really quickly, but she has to turn up. And like, yo, these Grimes are much stronger, way stronger. They start fusing and combining like the white Zetsu from like early Boruto in part 1 in the anime. And they get even stronger. And so our side characters have a showcase to where they have to do things. They have a struggle, but they have more in their back pocket. So that when she does fight those two Mamushi in the alley, right, you have her showcase against the stronger Grimes for a side character. Have her struggle, but not too much, and then have her major struggle, and then triumphant moment against those two Mamushi clones with the help of her allies. And then that's all you need for that character. You don't gotta do shit with Chocho for the rest of the franchise. You have her have an epic stain moment like that, bro. You're peak. But make use of the Grimes. Make use of Mamushi's weakness that he gets dumber with quantity, by showcasing he's intelligent to begin with, so we can even have something to contrast his stupidity to. Like, I don't understand, bro. I'm not a professional writer, and even I know to do these things. This is my issue, or at least
a sliding scale doesn't work if you don't know where the scale is at any point in time. That's the thing there. Everything that you just said, absolutely, of course, exactly. If Mamushi's intelligent, then the drawback to his ability feels planned and intentional. The drawback to his ability would become effective and ironic. It's the one thing that would actually be a detriment to Mamushi, losing the intelligence. The one thing he has. So not only would it be very noticeable, but it's the one thing that Mamushi wouldn't want to do either. That's the one thing he owns. This is like giving Naruto, if he splits up his shadow clones, a drop in intelligence. You're not really going to tell. Naruto's already kind of dumb anyway, so it's not really going to make a difference.
That
So
would be
I don't
such a
understand why
trash
it feels like
drawback.
this ability doesn't feel like it fits with Mamushi. It just feels like something that Ikimoto just drew out of a hat. He just threw a dart at a dartboard. That's what it landed on.
He doesn't even feel any different when he's dumb than he
Exactly.
does normally. And it's like
Exactly.
you could even add even more depth to where he actually has like pride, like arrogance almost in his intelligence. He takes pride in it. And so like when he has to like multiply, it pisses him off because you're taking away the thing that he covets so much, which the thing that defines him so much, which is his like intellect or his like craftiness or his intelligence. Like so you play around with those themes as well of pride comes before the fall or whatever the case may be. And come up and then actually make using intelligence the way that they defeat him, not just power out speed blitzing him, make it so that this character who takes so much pride in their intellect, well, we're going to use shinobi tactics and intelligence to show you how we humans do things, and we're going to outsmart you in battle, and then that's going to be an even bigger blow when you lose, right? Like it's come on, man, it's right there, and you can, and it's so good to do this with side characters in particular because you don't want them to win with just their power because they're side characters. You wanted them to win with their cunning and their intellect. And this is the best franchise to do this with because it's not Dragon Ball. You can fight stronger combatants while being weaker if you leverage some kind of tactic or strategy. You absolutely can.
It'd
Like,
be
just
so
look at Naruto
awesome.
and Sasuke versus Kaguya. Like, she could dust them at the start of that fight. Clearly, they stood no chance against her, but they clearly did. So, like,
And that's
yeah.
especially a theme, more so in Boruto than it is in Naruto. Because in Naruto, all the high tier combatants are elite, experienced ninja. Ninja tactics don't work on them to the same degree. In Boruto, you're fighting inhuman monsters who aren't ninja. That's who you need to do ninja tactics against, and that's usually how it works, because that's where the difference in power is. Naruto and Sasuke versus Jigen. Jigen's not a ninja. Naruto and Sasuke are top tier ninja. Jigen
Right.
is like eclipsing them in power by like 20 tiers, but like Naruto and Sasuke are almost beheading Jigen multiple times because of their ninja tactics. Do stuff like that against these tree people who are tree people and not ninjas.
And it should also be like framed as almost like a battle between Shikamaru and Mamushi and
Yes.
the battle of their intellects. And like there's a Mamushi that's like it's like a game of chess. Or if you're like a Yu-Gi-Oh fan, it's like Bakura versus Yugi. Like the entire franchise is basically them playing a shadow game. You learn this at the end. And like all of the series, all of it's just like them maneuvering the pieces on the board the entire time. Which is kind of crazy. But like do something like that to where there's a main Mamushi always, and he's like strategizing. He doesn't really know who he's going up against, but he has like a suspicion, and he knows he's going up against someone intelligent based upon like what they do to counter his moves. And so you have Shikamaru basically playing chess or Go against Mamushi, and Mamushi are using his like clog rhymes and his duplicates strategically, and Shikamaru are using his team strategically on the board. So in this way, it's not even like this Boruto series, but it's really like an arc where it's like Shikamaru's the one boxing with old boy. And then you leverage that intelligence through Shikadai being able to fight with like a lower tier team. Shout out to Himawari, fair enough. But like a lower tier team. But because intelligence is at the forefront of the theme of this arc, um, then he can leverage that in that battle to allow them to have victory under that scenario, given certain contexts.
Yeah,
His strategies win the day.
Inogene's new jutsu, his campfire looking thing, that basically is a
Yeah,
chessboard now that you think about it. In fact, what you're describing, by the way, I
yeah,
just posted a picture in chat, and I think metaphorically they should do something just like this. But that's the exact
yeah.
thing they do with the Fourth Great Ninja War. It was Shikaku, Shikamaru's dad, who was the leader of headquarters. He was basically moving pieces on a chessboard. In fact, that's what Madara and Obito call back to right before they nuke HQ. They're taking out the brains of the operation and all that. So they're doing exactly that. Even technically, other parts is not
Hmm.
really chess moves, but like Orochimaru's operating his pawns as he's stating. There's also Hunter x Hunter. You have Netero versus Meruem, and that's a literal fight presented as a chess game in like the coolest way possible, most linked way
And
possible.
exactly, and then like, yep, I was thinking that's why I brought up Go because I was
Hmm.
just thinking about Methodum, but like it's like and then you can even have Mamushi like be super clever and then like outsmart Shikamaru once or twice,
Hmm.
and then have Shikadai be like, "Yo, Dad, I got you," and then showcase
Oh,
Shikadai.
that's good.
Like this should be a major Shikadai Shikamaru showcase,
That would
and
be
then
good.
Mamushi is on the back foot, and then that forces him to have to duplicate. Not because he just does it just cause, but he has to because he knows if he does it, it diminishes his intelligence. But they force it out of him by combining their intelligence, with the Nara boys, and
Mm.
then he's on the back foot, and then that forces him to duplicate, forces him to get dumber, and then he's like he starts spiraling from there. His ego is out of control. His emotions are out of control, and then Jura shows up, right? Shows up like out of a portal or something, like some on some aura form, grabs his shot. I have you, my friend, and then he combines his intelligence, and then that gets them back into her or something like that. But like it would like there's ways to fucking do this, bro.
It's
There's ways
so
to do
easy.
this.
We've mentioned like 10 different ways to fill the vacant hole in the writing of this arc. That's such a good one, though. Especially with what they're doing with this arc on like the B story with Shikamaru to Sai. Sai's just now finding out about everything with Shikamaru. We don't know what Sai's truly think about it. We have what we can go based off of. But keep in mind what Shikamaru has been like with his son. When Amuro first came to the village, strapped a bomb around Shikadai's neck, we saw Shikamaru's reaction. And now we get Shikamaru telling Sai, "Oh yeah, Sai, be a ninja. Who cares about your son?" We can contrast how Shikamaru was to how Sai is now. In fact, we can get that through
Yeah.
Shikadai and Inojine's different decisions in this arc and thematically how that can intertwine as well. There's so many different ways to go about writing it. No, I think that's probably one of the best ways to do it.
That's good. I didn't even think about that contrast. That's really good actually. It is
Right? Yeah.
very similar.
I
Yeah.
like that. No,
Yeah, I
but
like
it's
that.
sad because if anything, I mean, obviously, Kamui and I were like memeing slightly with the Japanese drunk person getting more intelligent thing, but semantically, the way Mamushi's been portrayed, he's only gotten more intelligent as he's divided. He's not only separated across the village, he's been funny enough, he's been using smarter words in Mining Kamui's opinion, but beyond that, he's strategizing more than when he first invaded, which
I
is
wouldn't be surprised.
ridiculous.
I
Exactly.
wouldn't be surprised. It's so like, and this is why I don't like theorizing anymore. And like
Hmm.
even doing this like what if scenario, all of this is just off the top of my head. Imagine what I could do if I just thought about it for a little bit. Like imagine if I had teams and resources and this was my profession. And then so like when I look at that, I can do this off the top of my head
Yeah.
at 1:30 a.m. on a random Friday or Saturday, and you can't do this as a professional who's been working their whole life for this with an entire team with legacy and money and millions at your back. So like when I read the material and I see this stuff, I'm like, yeah, I have something to say about that, I think.
Yeah, you know what's sad about that? I was looking in your comment section earlier. I don't know who said it. I don't remember. Someone was saying something along the lines of, "You just gotta wait, Mello. Ikimoto's gonna get better. You just gotta give him time." First of all, excuse me, sir. Hasn't Ikimoto been working on Naruto for like 20 years before Boruto? Beyond that,
Yeah.
hasn't he been working on Boruto for like 10 years? Like, what do you
And and
mean, give him time? It's
and
not
also like
new.
also, that's not my job to give you time. You're not entitled to that. Like some people's first impression is their only impression. Like you should be trying to put your best foot forward every damn chance you get because none of this is promised to you and none of this is guaranteed. I don't have to watch your series and I don't have to cover it. Like this mentality that like I owe him some kind of space to do anything at all. I owe him anything. I owe him nothing. Like he should have his shit to whatever he presents should be tidy and cross his T's and dot his I's before I ever even see it. I shouldn't these problems should he should have a motherfucker at his side questioning him AI or a human being, I don't care at this point. Somebody's like, well, if you do this, wouldn't this be like a problem? Or like, why are you doing this when you could have done this? Like he clearly can't do it himself.
He went into
And he
this with
clearly doesn't have
decades
somebody
of
around him.
experience. He knows
I,
what
I
what's to expect.
like I'm doing my project now. I'm writing my own story in my own universe with my own characters. It's fucking wonderful. I advise everybody, even if you never make it public, just craft your own world. It's
Yeah.
so goddamn fun. And it creates like you fire off neurons that you don't use normally. It's amazing. But I leverage AI not to come up with my ideas, but to just ask me questions, right? I have like a teleporter in my series. Um, and they were asking me great questions that I just didn't take into consideration. Like, hey, I'm like, yeah, within his field of vision, he can like set markers and then he can teleport to that marker. Basically, I gave him like Sasuke's ability almost. He it's twofold. He can teleport to and then switch positions and blah blah blah. But there's like, okay, well, what's the cost to that? Is there like the heavier the object, the bigger the cost, the strain? It's like, oh, I didn't think about the mass and what was actually happening mechanically with the ability. He's literally teleporting like this amount of mass. So if he teleports a building or something, if that's possible, that should be more of a strain than him teleporting like a mouse, right? I didn't even consider that. It's like, okay, well,
Mm.
and I'm like, okay, and there's a scene where he like looks at his TV and it's like, okay, well, he can set the marker. I'm like, well, no, it needs. Oh, well, I didn't say that to the AI. Well, I guess I need to establish that it needs to be within his field of vision, not just that he can see it, because then he can just look at somebody on the TV screen and teleport to their location like a light years away. So like it's just those things you don't take. If you don't have somebody next to you, like, okay, why are you doing this? There's something, even if you're super smart, you'll just overlook that shit. And he clearly doesn't have that, but the question is why? Why doesn't he have that? Like, I don't understand. It's weird.
Yeah, no, I did the same thing with false perfections. I've said this in the past, but with my writing, that's the reason I learned power scaling, aka debate, in the first place. It was never about
Hmm.
Naruto. It was so I can make sure the writing of my series is consistent. But yeah, no, what you're describing about Ikimoto, the sad part to me, this is where there's no excuse. There wasn't any excuse anyways. But Ikimoto, he's been in this business, let's just say 20 years. It's probably been more than that, but let's just say 20 years. He hasn't, which is already ridiculously amount, but he hasn't just been doing mind-boggling, mind-numbing work to where he's just like mentally not even there and just a soul, like a slave to the system. He's not doing that. He's shadowing under Kishimoto, who made like the
Right.
best manga of all time. How do you shadow under the best? And for
It's like
20
being,
years, and
it's
this
like
is
for
what you
20,
make? I don't understand how
it's like
that's
you're a
possible.
kid. You're a kid and like you're learning underneath like Michael Jordan or like the most impressive athlete ever since you're
And then
like
you're
five
worse
years
than
old.
average.
Yeah, it's like, bro, how did you not be like the next up? Like, I don't understand. This all
Exactly.
might ass training. Okay, you need Endeavor. Okay, you need an actual teacher. Just because, you know what, there might be something to that as an aside. Like, great people can't train others because maybe they don't even understand how they're great themselves. That's interesting. I don't know, but
Yeah,
yeah,
maybe.
just an aside.
I'll give you that. It
But
could be something like
yeah, but the Damon stuff and like kind of like the manga aside, um well, not the manga aside, my bad.
that.
But the Damon stuff kind of aside, is there anything else that we can like I think for me, I think the stuff with Kubo, the Chamberlain of the Daimyo, I think that stuff kind of got pushed off to the side in a
I
way
don't
that
think
I
we're
don't
coming
like.
back to that this arc. Kubo
Yeah,
was written off screen. We saw Sai. Sai was right next to Kubo. Kubo's not drawn. I don't even know why we saw Sai this chapter. I don't think we're coming back to
bro.
Kubo this arc.
I would have done is almost like a I would have kept Kubo there, and I would have kept that as a way of nerfing Shikamaru's mental capacity to where he has to fight Mamushi psychologically and mentally, or just intellectually, play that game, and then he also has to maneuver around Kubo psychologically and intellectually and play that game, which is going to showcase Shikamaru and his true intelligence. And I would even almost have like the same kind of atmosphere or tension as like the tuning exams written exam portion
Hmm.
where you have to like use like basically what they did like mind transfer or like use like strategic shinobi tactics to maneuver around Kubo so that Shikamaru can like maneuver around but I wouldn't just get rid of it because it's inconvenient because you want to move on to something else. You've already established it. I think it could have been great tension. Um like he's like, I really need to go. He's like, damn it, I'm talking to you, Shikamaru Nara. You will stay here. You will listen to me, damn it. Or something like that. Like no matter what he does, like this dude's just so smart and he just knows, like he's like, bro, I know it. I just all I need bit my tongue. He's like, bro, I know you're guilty. I'm just going to like strategically maneuver you in a way that makes you admit that you're guilty. I just need to prove it. And that's what this whole thing is about. So he's playing two strategic, like intellectual games between two, like almost antagonistic elements at once. And then like that's where Shikadai has to kind of get in and be like his on the floor general when he can't like when he's dealing with Kubo, Shikadai has to take over. And then when he has an opportunity, he finesses Kubo,
Oh,
he can get
that's
back into
okay.
it.
That's the way to bring in
Yeah.
Shikadai. That's the way you bring the
Yeah.
Nara. I like that for
And
sure.
then you
That's good.
still use Kubo, and then it just creates tension and drama, and it's like it's there.
It forces the next
There.
generation to step up, not by writing the old generation out, but by having the old generation deal with their own burdens.
Correct. You don't just take Sasuke and Naruto and like McGuffin, like put them on the fridge them, right? That's an old term in comic book nerd spaces. I think there was I think maybe Hal Jordan's wife or girlfriend or something. She got like killed and stuffed in the fridge, and he found her like that. I think that was what it was, and they call ever since it's called fridging. But so just to explain that little nerd history. But like, yeah, you don't just fridge them, put them on like yeah, you don't put them on the shelf. You actually write a way to get them out of it. That's very intelligent and well written, and adds nuance. And if you can, develops the damn character. If anything, what happened to writing, bro? What is this like? This fucking brain rot ass style of writing. I don't understand. It's like they're writing for a generation with like no attention span. That might be
Yeah.
it, bro. That might be it. I don't know.
I mean, based on, how the fans defended it, you're probably right. But ignoring
Man,
that. No, but I was saying this in
uh,
the last stream. I don't know how they're gonna get around it because I feel like Ikimoto feels like Shikamaru checkmated Kobu last chapter, which is why he doesn't need to come back to Kobu for a while. But I feel like the checkmating Kobu isn't what Ikimoto thinks it is. Keep in mind what was happening in the first half of the arc. Whereas, yes, Kobu was trying to get Shikamaru to come down to the office, and that was its own problem. Outside of that, there was just the struggle that Shikamaru was having trouble keeping up. He had to go back and forth between acting as the pretend Hokage to the village and talking to the Yamanaka people officially and then talking to Kobu officially. But then he had to go back and forth between that and then his secret call with Boruto and everyone else. And that was a trouble for him. You could see he was struggling to keep up. He was overwhelmed doing that,
mhm.
and it was making him cause a couple mistakes. It was hard to keep up. We go from that to now that we're done with Kobu. Kobu's given him permission. Okay, we'll do the interrogation afterwards. You can do your duties as Hokage first. But that just means Shikamaru's going to go back to the same position he was already in. Why would he not talk to the Yamanaka people officially at the same time right now? He's going to go back to talking to both, and that's going to cause trouble. The problem is, Ikimoto's not going to write that. He's going to pretend like that doesn't need to exist. But then what? Is the village done as well? Is the village not going to interact with the Mamushi for the rest of the arc? The village is going to be peachy. They're just going to pretend like it never happened, and they're just going to wait for the invasion to end, even though they, I guess, should already think it should end. So then Kobu should be asking to interrogate Shikamaru right now. Like, I don't understand what they're going to do. Because either Shikamaru is just going to send everyone to Ada's house, in which case they're going to see everyone assisting Boruto, or I don't know what they're going to do. But they can't go back. They're not going back to what they've been doing, and I don't know why. But that's a problem. I think it's a blatant plot hole, arguably.
I think kind of if I could rewrite one thing I said where Boruto gets help later on, I mean earlier on, I you know what I would actually do? I would factor in that Boruto is a wanted man. And what I would do is instead of Boruto getting help from an ally, basically he gets help indirectly as a shinobi shows up and tries to attack Boruto. Mamusha gets distracted, creating an opening for Boruto to
Mm.
finish off that fourth one as whatever one escapes away. and that's the only reason why he can contend with 4 is because of they got distracted, and that created an opening that he could take advantage of. And then this would also factor in Boruto still being a wanted man. Because I'm sitting here wondering, like, this dude just in the streets of Konoha, nobody's saying anything, nobody's like really doing too much. And Kubo reminded me, like, yeah, bro, Boruto is a wanted man. And that should be factored in. Like, Boruto shouldn't just be willy-nilly in the village, bro. They should be trying to get on his ass. There should be pressure on Shikamaru at every facet. There should be people like, yo, um, Shikamaru, Boruto's here, do something, and he should be able to. He should have to have the face fronting Hokage that's after the criminal Boruto. He should be able. He should have to deal with that. He should have to deal with Kubo, the accountable interim Hokage, and he should also have to deal with like the actual Hokage that's dealing with the actual threat at play. Like he should be stretched so thin, forcing Shikadai to have to factor in with his intelligence, and then you also factor in Boruto's wanted. It fits so seamlessly. And I would also say that I really want there to be a plan that Shikamaru has on the back end where people from other villages get involved and they're on their way. Um, I really want this. I want Shinky to be involved. I want us to get the Lightning Village involved or whatever. So that maybe we can set up different settings later on in Two Blue Vortex and get the fuck out of Konoha. My God. Um, but just yeah, like just everything. Have a plan. Just man, bro, tell me these like little rewrites that we're coming up with. Just it's just objectively better than what we have, bro. And now that I'm like comparing them, I'm like, fuck, I wish I had this rewrite, bro. Why do
No,
I have the
I'm glad
canon
you said all
material?
that, especially with the Nara people. So I think that Ikimoto wrote it backwards, and I didn't realize it until now. Sasuke believes in his child rather than Boruto, but because of his child, he'll believe in Boruto. And that's their way around omnipotence. Shikamaru isn't doing that. He wrote it backwards. Shikamaru believes in Boruto. Shikadai doesn't. Why doesn't Shikamaru believe in Shikadai, who believes in Boruto? Why didn't Ikimoto write it that way? That way,
That's
you
good.
can
That's
have
good.
Shikamaru strictly only doing his Hokage duty, not interacting with Boruto. But the only way that Shikamaru is interacting with the group call is through Shikadai. And Shikadai is the one interacting with Boruto. That way, you can keep the A and B story more or less separate, but keep them intertwined through the father, or I guess parent and child bond, the theme of Boruto. That's the way to do it. And that also
Yeah.
gets Boruto the next generation to interact with his generation. And that's just so much better in every regard. That's the way to do it, because then you have Shikadai, who's on the front lines versus Mamushi, against Shikamaru, who's on the B story with Kobu. And obviously Shikamaru, as acting as Hokage, can assist Boruto through assisting Shikadai in their
Right.
secret call.
And
That's the way to do it. That's so much better.
and because they outsmarted Jura early on in TBV when he first came to the village, that could be like a setup for this big moment to where he has to use his intellect in this arc. So the synergy is just it's nice, bro. It's just really nice.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
I
yeah.
do want to keep this going, but I can't because one of my other friends wants to do something right now. But
That's fun.
yeah, no. This has been a ton of fun. This went pretty
I
well.
agree.
I'm guessing that Kamui just fell asleep, which is why he wasn't here. I guess Bar just didn't show up. Horizon, I guess, didn't get the message in time. Well, it's okay. There's just us. Besides Immortal, who was here for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. My entire goal was to like stream for like an hour, 2 hours and a half, maybe.
Oh,
So I got
perfect.
that
Yeah.
in and just get some content that I can
Yeah,
clip
yeah,
and
yeah.
ship. So
I'll leave you with
GG's.
two different things. The first question is just a quick question. I didn't even consider this. I heard someone else say this. Sarada's eye at the end of the chapter. Do you think it exploded?
Wait, that's the
Think
end of
about
this.
the way that
That
Sarada
was it?
recoiled backwards when she fell, and there was like blood like spurting out in the way. Like it's almost like her eye detonated. Like she might not have eye matter left. It might be gone. It might have exploded.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
That's so funny.
I
I
mean,
love the idea. I'm down for it. I hope it happened.
there is this idea where if a vessel can't contain the power, it will explode. Just think like Madara and Kaguya.
It would
something like
also be
that.
cool because that's what her ability is. It's to make the orbs and then to detonate the orbs, as the database describes it. That's what she was trying to do at the moment, was detonate it. Maybe instead of the orb, she accidentally detonated her eye.
You know, it would there's some sense that you could make, and I actually think it could be cool, if not just kind of funny and a little gruesome. But yeah, like if you're like funneling chakra into the eye, then there's too much energy for the vessel, it explodes. Yeah, that's a cool power feat for sure. Gnarly
Yeah.
visual, but yeah, no, I like it.
I love it.
What's your second thing?
For the first thing, I'll also say it would technically parallel with Sasuke, whose eye didn't explode, but like it's basically the same idea. Lost the eye. The second thing is, if you haven't yet, you should check out that Boruto interview with the editors.
Oh yeah, I was told about that in a previous stream recently.
Yeah,
Apparently,
do you?
like they gave us credit. I don't know who us was, but
That's
that's what
one
they
of the
said in
things.
the comment.
Now, there's like 20 different things. You mentioned a couple things that I wanted to reference the interview earlier, but I just never got the chance to. They confirmed something about Jura. The one of the things I'll say right now, the Sara defeat with the Hidari thing. From the way they presented it, it felt like it had nothing to do with power scaling. The way they thought about it. Oh, I did not like the interview, by the way. They felt entirely incompetent the way they described their writing process. But it felt like the reason they wrote it the way they did was strictly because they thought it looked cool, and that's it. That's why Sarda did her feat against Hidari.
I mean, they're not wrong, but
They also
I mean,
compared
that's
it to the
probably
end of the
not the reason why
chapter.
you should have written that. It's not your number one reason, at least.
That's what they seem like. They compared it with the end of chapter cliffhanger with Himawari breaking out of the tree against Jura with the Nine Tails. They said that was like cool to like parallel that moment. So there's that.
That was cool. It
Yeah,
makes
they
more
also
sense
like
though.
they confirmed
Yep.
Jura isn't a villain, and that's what makes him one of the most interesting characters in their opinion. So it's cool to have that confirmed.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Do you have like a link to this interview? Is it
Yeah, I'll link
like
it.
an
I'll link it.
article? Or is
Gotta.
it a video or article or
Yeah, I got it. If you want to wait just like 10 seconds as I fill the dead air with me saying I'm gonna find it and link it right about. No, that's not it. Right about in a second, anyways. Wow, we've written a lot of topics. Okay, it's gonna be right here. Got it.
bet. All right, buddy. Enjoy your
Alrighty.
enjoy your date and I'll catch you on the next one.
All right, it's been a pleasure.
All right, man. Peace.
Yeah.